We're gonna start shortly, guys. Hope you guys doing well. We're gonna give a couple of minutes to have some of you guys jump in. Today's topic, we're gonna talk about 3 things you should focus on when looking to get a job in web development. When you're starting out, what 3 areas should you study and make sure that you don't skip out on. But we're gonna give a few minutes for everybody to jump in before we get started. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions or suggestions for topics. But we are going to talk about 3 areas that you should study as a self-taught web developer. We're going to go over the curriculum from our free code camp. I want to show it to you guys because you don't have to take all the courses from there, but it's a great curriculum to follow. But anyway, as you guys jump in here, we're going to get started in a few minutes, but let me know how you guys are doing. So we're going to have some coffee. We're going to code a little bit, maybe. Definitely going to chat. You guys, let me know in the comments if you could hear the audio. Let me know how it's going. Let me know if you guys see the stream. I'm trying out new streaming software, so I'm kind of curious how it's going to be. If you're just joining us, guys, welcome to Coffee, Code, and Chat. We're going to start our discussion in a few minutes, but I'll give everybody a chance to kind of jump on and go from there. All right, if you're just joining us, welcome. We're going to give you guys a few more minutes before we get started. Let me know in the comments if you guys are here. Let me know in the comments what topics you guys have. Let me know how's the audio. Can you guys hear me well? Is everything good? Say hello. Don't be shy. We're going to have some good times today. All right. So if you guys are just joining in, we're going to have a lot of great fun today. Welcome to Coffee, Code, and Chat. In today's show, we're going to talk about 3 areas to focus on when learning to code to get a job. We're also going to talk about other things. So let me know in the comments the things that you want to talk about. Let me know if you guys can see me. If we are live, let me know if the video and audio is good. I am trying a new software here, so I'm gonna just kind of see how it works. So let me know if you guys could see me. Let me know if you guys could hear me, and then we'll run from there. All right, guys, so before we get started, we're going to talk about 3 areas to focus to learn to code when to get a job. I'm going to start going through the list, and as you guys jumping in, I'll kind of circle back. But the first thing I want to talk about is when you're looking to get a job, when you're first starting out, maybe you've been coding for a while, maybe you've been coding for a long time, so you kind of have to know where you are. Are you at the beginning of your journey? Are you in the middle? Or are you closer to the part where you're ready to get a job? Now, if you're just starting out, the most important thing you could do is to actually learn a programming language or the tech that you need to know in order to be able to be productive to get a job. Now, what I want to do here, I want to jump into my computer and I just want to show you Free Code Camp. If you're not familiar with it, now, the first thing I'm going to say, I don't do most of their tutorials, but what I like about them is that they have a really great outline for a curriculum. So if you're kind of stuck and not sure where to start, where to look for, a curriculum, especially if you're self-taught, Free Code Camp is actually a pretty good site. So let's jump into this computer. Let's check it out. All right, guys, so let me share my screen here. All right, so here we are. We're on the Free Code Camp website. What I like about these guys is that it's very cool curriculum. and they have a lot of stuff to offer. You don't have to do all of the stuff, and you don't even have to take all the courses from here, even though they are free. But it's a great curriculum to follow for you guys to be able to get started. Can you see me? Yes, I'm using new software. It does show that I'm going live, and I think I'm going live, but let me know if I'm not going live. I will fix it right up, figure out what's happening. I think we're doing good. I think we're live. Anyway, let me know for sure. Very common for me to be like, hey, am I live? Am I going? Is things happening for me here? But man, Tech Rally, what's up? Hey guys, listen, my live streams, they're fairly new, by the way, and you know, what's up, Tech Rally? And I'm just starting out, but this guy, Tech Rally, if you haven't checked out his channel, go check it out. He does amazing stuff, and he's about to blow up. I could tell it, that he's gonna be killing it with his live stream. So you guys go check out his channel if you have a chance. He puts out a lot of great videos. His voice is amazing, and we have about the same amount of subscribers, except now he's going to skyrocket. I could feel it because he's on point. The content he has been releasing, I cannot not recommend you go and check it out. It is pretty amazing. So definitely go check him out. Tech Rally is amazing. He does amazing videos, and man, you're gonna learn a lot from him. He also does tutoring, or if you guys need additional help or need somebody who you want to go over your resume, maybe give you some tips to get hired, he does do one-on-ones, and I would definitely consider checking his channel out. But man, great to see you here, jumping up, thumbs up this video. Thanks, Tech Rally, you are amazing. Anyway, if you're just joining us, let us say hello in the comments. Let us know what's up. It's going to be a lot of fun. In this video, I want to talk about 3 areas that you guys should focus on when looking to get a job. And it really depends on if you're just starting out, if you're in the middle of your journey, or if you feel like you're ready to start looking for jobs. It's not easy. My channel is about switching careers late in life. I'm actually 40 years old. I got my first job last year, and it took me a while to break into the field. So I definitely know the struggle. I definitely understand how hard it is to get things going. But anyway, guys, this is going to be so much fun. In today's video, we are going to talk about the 3 things you guys should cover. I'm also going to share with you free code camp curriculum. I don't take a lot of classes from free code camp, but what I do like, if you're a self-taught developer and you're not sure what to start, they already have a curriculum for you that you could use as guidance, and then you could fill in the gaps from any other tutorials that you like. So let's see the comments here. Man, thanks Tech Rally for the setup. I'm trying my best. I'm following by your example, man. You're gonna kill it, and I want to be right behind you, so I better not slack off. What's up, Jinko? How you doing? Hello. Hey, Hamza, good to see you. Yeah, Tech Rally is gonna hit 10K in 3 months, and you know, God bless him. The boot camp review video he just did, it was so thorough, so amazing. If that's a sign of any of his more future videos to come, he's going to kill it. It is going to be amazing. He's going to kill it. He's going to do good. By the way, if you're just starting here, my name is Paul. Welcome to Code. Actually, we don't code first. We drink our coffee first. Then we chat about code and do a lot of stuff like that. So I know in some places it's 12 a.m. like it is here, but I don't mind having my coffee right now to get me started. So let me know in the comments some of the things you guys want to talk about. It is going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a wild stream today, as always. Let me know if my audio is too loud. I see the thumbs up. I see the likes. I really appreciate it. Let me know, guys. The most important part of this stream, you guys know, is that I do it for you guys. I do it because I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to grow this community from people that I would consider friends. And the most important part is that it's not about me just talking to you guys in a one way, but I want to have a conversation where you guys give your opinions and feedback in the comments. And more importantly, I want to figure out how I could get you guys on the call one day. You know, get you guys, you know, give me a call and talk to me live. They'll be phenomenal. I don't know if I'll be able to do it today. We could try, if someone is brave enough to try to talk to me, we could test out the settings, see if I have it right or not. But it'll be great to jump in on the live code. And Jose, Tech Rally's channel looks pretty good. Yeah, it is pretty good. He does an amazing job. By the way, he has one of the most amazing voices I've heard. It is so soothing when you listen to him. Sometimes I just turn the channel on. No man crush or anything, but it's amazing. Emmanuel Garcia, what's up? How you doing today? What's cooking? Let me know in the comments what you guys want to talk about. I want to talk about everything we can. Let me in, bro. Dude, do you want to jump on the call? You want to give this a try? See what's up? They'll be amazing. Let me try this. I've never tried this before. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to try. Copy link. Okay, link is copied. I got to try to figure out, man, Tech Rally, what's the best place to send you a link? Maybe I could do it in Discord. That'll be awesome. To get Tech Rally on this channel, on this chat, that's going to be glorious. That'll be amazing. Let me go into Discord and see if I could DM Tech Rally. Because if he jumps on the stream, we're going to kill it. It's going to be like the most amazing stream ever. I could feel it. You know, it's going to be amazing. But I've never done this before, so I have no idea if it's going to work. But we're going to give it a try. I'm going to send him a DM. Tech Rally, I got you here. Message directly. Paste the link. I sent the link via Discord, and I want to see if this eCam thing is going to work. I've never tried it, so I'm very curious. So Tech Rally, if you get the link, let's give it a try. Let's try it out. They'll be amazing. Man, party always. We always party here on this channel. Yep, let's see here. Yeah, let's test it out. Emmanuel, if you want to jump in on the call later too, I want to test everything out today. By the way, while we're waiting to see if Tech Rally is able to get my link, and if he still wants to jump on, that'll be amazing. If not, I get it. We're still new at this channel, but I sent the link on Discord. So I am checking, seeing what is happening to my software. This is exciting. This is exciting. By the way, guys, if you know, Tech Rally said hello. He's got an amazing channel. You could check him out here at Tech Rally, helping current and aspiring software developers break into tech. That's what he does here on his channel. Man, my head is all the way to the side. You guys, man, keep me honest. Let me know what's up. All right. All right. So this is his channel. He has a lot of great videos. The reason he has a couple of very amazing videos. Definitely encourage you guys to go and check out his channel. It's a lot of fun, good times all around. So, hey guys, keep saying hello in the chat. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be have a lot of fun today. Today we're gonna talk about three things and other things. Three things to focus on when learning to code to get a job. By the way, if you're new to the channel, my name is Paul. We talk about learning to code, switching careers late in life. More importantly here, this is Coffee, Code, and Chat, where we have a sip of coffee, have a lot of fun, and man, this is going to be great. What's up, Logic? Good to see you. Hey guys, I'm trying to test out a new feature. So if anybody would like to jump on and talk live, I would love to. I would love to have you jump in. Tech Rally is trying to get on, set up his stuff. I hope it works. It'll be awesome. That'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. I'm very excited to check out and test out this new setup. We're having so much fun today. As always, every stream is phenomenal. Every stream is amazing. By the way, I'm trying to get Tech Rally to jump on. If you don't know who he is, he has an amazing channel. I'm showing you my Discord. I'm showing you all the secret stuff. That's not what I want to show you guys. All the secret stuff. All the secret stuff. You got the secret link that I sent to Tech Rally on the super awesome Discord channel. No big deal, you guys. But this is his channel. It's pretty much an amazing channel. He talks about tech. Very cool to listen to. And most importantly, he has amazing advice. One of his reviews he did was amazing. And I think I got Tech Rally jumping in. He's in the green room right now. And I hope it's going to work. I'm going to figure out if I could add him here.
Hey.
Can you? Damn, it worked.
Are we lagging though? How's the?
I don't know. I hear you good. I might be lagging. I got terrible, internet. But man, great to see you.
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, this is cool. I'm still trying to figure out how this works. Maybe I should turn the music down a little bit, make it more bearable.
Oh man, this is awesome.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I'm on the East Coast too.
Nice. You moved to New York. I watched that video like a while ago. How long ago was this?
6 years ago? Yeah, 2015.
Wow. So you've been there for a while, for some time.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about this this live stream. 3 areas to focus on when learning code. What are you thinking right now?
So what I'm thinking about, like, when you're starting out, like a lot of people just get stuck in the tutorial hell, and what they do is they don't kind of try to figure out where they need to go. And the biggest mistake they make, they just spin their wheels. And having a plan and kind of knowing what to do is kind of very important. So the 3 things that I eventually discovered over lots of mistakes, you need to know your domain knowledge. So whatever that tech stack for you is, maybe it's React and JavaScript, maybe it's ASP.NET and C#, you need to learn the basics. There's no question around it. And if you don't know what to learn, you're not going to get past the first step. You actually have to know something. So number 1 is spend some time learning your domain knowledge. And that could be like learning the basics. Let's say if you're learning C#, learning the basic syntax, making sure you could understand the language and understand, what you're doing and be able to build some projects. But the second part of this, because it's very easy to get stuck in tutorial hell, the second step is actually start building projects for your portfolio. So once you understand the basics of the language, you've done some smaller tutorials, put the tutorials away and start building. So that's the second thing. Start building your portfolio. And the biggest mistake I made, the biggest regret I had, is that it took me 5 years to get the courage to actually start building projects for a portfolio. So I could have gotten hired much sooner. And that sounds so crazy, right? It sounds like, why would you take so long? But that's exactly what happened to me. So I literally was afraid, didn't have the confidence to build anything. And I realized you're not going to learn how to build something unless you're actually building things.
That's true. I mean, before we go on to number 3, like for number 2, what was the major blocker for starting a project for you?
That's a great question. I would sit down in front of my computer and I would realize I don't know enough. I don't know anything. And the reason being is because when you do a tutorial, you don't go through the thinking part of actually organizing a project and kind of thinking about what you need to create and how you're going to, I guess, architect it, if you will. And so you're always following someone's example and you're literally just going through someone else's code. And what I found out that without that crutch, I had no idea where to start. And so what I forced myself to do, okay, you're going to build something. Whatever you do, do not go back and watch the tutorial video for reference. Go to Google, go to documentation. So I started reading the React JS docs and built from there. And little by little, like it was pain in the ass. Like a lot of the projects that I started with, they're all shit. They're all garbage. Like, I mean, I would say maybe some of the ones that I have now are not the best, but that's where you start, And then the third thing, just to kind of give the overview, is all around the interview prep. But that could be from making sure you have an amazing resume, making sure that you have a LinkedIn profile. But more importantly is that you're studying for the interview prep, because every company does it differently. And for me, I do better on the ones where people come in, they ask me to build something versus, algorithmic and data structures. But some companies do that. And some of those companies that I interview with didn't do too well. And so
Yeah.
the third part, very important. You got to do it. But I know you've helped a bunch of people, like, in the past to get jobs. And from your experience, what is the most, like, number one common mistake that people make?
Yo, I don't want to give all my secrets. Okay, nah, for sure. I think the common mistakes that I see a lot with the people I've talked to, they don't have a portfolio. And what's kind of even scarier is they don't have a portfolio coming out of a boot camp for some of them. And it just seems like that's the minimum requirement to showcase your projects, right? So not having a portfolio, and if they do have a portfolio, all of their projects go directly to GitHub. So
Yeah.
it's just step after step. It's just you're just adding more barriers to you not landing that first job. So it's crazy to me that number one that they don't have a portfolio, and then followed by um, they don't have actual URLs to their portfolio projects or to their actual projects. And if they do have URLs to their projects, it's like a Heroku domain, like it says something something herokuapp.com. So buy a
Yeah.
domain, highly recommend that. And then lastly, buy the dynos. If if you're ready to showcase your projects, you should be able to pay for those dynos for at least a few months, like minimum 6 months while you're looking, right? So I think you need to make somewhat of an investment on yourself to make yourself stand out from the rest of the pack. And like when you have like Heroku domains and things like that, it just looks like you have side projects and you just do this for fun. Like you're trying to get a job here, right? So I think that's the most important part.
Yeah. No, that's a good tip. And it's funny. One of my projects that I'm not super proud of because I had to stop. One of the mistakes I made, I was building too many things at once. And basically, I was trying to do 3 big projects at once. But I did do like that tip that you did. For instance, I'll quickly show you. But I did set up a separate domain for... hold on a second.
I'll be right back. I'm going to try to see if I could connect with 5G. Maybe it'll be a little bit better.
Yeah, it might be my connection, to be honest with you. I got terrible connection here where I am. But yeah, so that could be my connection too. But yeah, I did this like here. I have my own domain name, corsair.io, for this project that I'm building. It's still work in progress. I have a lot of stuff to do, but it's got basic authentication going that you could sign in. It opens up once you sign in the panel for, my internet's super slow. For like I have to build all this stuff out. But anyway, not to bore people with the projects. I just wanted to show this to kind of see what I'm building and also kind of talk about, how do you know if your project is good enough for a portfolio? I am clicking everywhere because I have no idea how to use this, by the way. So I'm working on it. Here we go.
How do you know if your project is good enough? I mean, you have to get feedback from the people that you've worked with or people that you know that are software developers. I don't think you're gonna know directly like, oh, maybe this is good enough or maybe this isn't good enough. Like, get feedback from actual software developers, get feedback from maybe even friends that may be recruiters. I know like in my Discord channel, we have like a portfolio review channel where people like post their portfolios and we give honest feedback. And I think that's always been a good like safe space to really just say, hey, like I know you're trying to learn responsive design and things like that, and you're trying to do all the CSS by yourself, but is it really worth it right now to try to do that when your main priority is to find a job? So like sometimes I would recommend like buying a template and just using the template for your portfolio so you can more focus on your actual projects that you want to showcase. So there's just like a lot of ways to break that down, but it's you want to get feedback, and getting feedback shouldn't be like a scary thing.
Yeah, that makes like a lot of sense, and that's a good tip. We do have also some questions in the comments. It's dumb, but sometimes I feel coding is not for me, even though I love it and it's my best skill. your opinion about talking about burnout, and feel free to talk about it later. I think this is a good topic for me. One thing I would say, because I had a whole different career before I got into web development, so I'm like a kid at a candy store. So it takes like I don't feel the burnout. I'm consumed by coding, and it's perfectly fine. But it would be nice to hear the perspective of someone like yourself who's been in the field for a while and kind of, been working for a while, and maybe talk about your experience and the experience of people that you've seen as you worked.
Yeah, and I think some people associate burnout with, I'm lacking motivation and things like that. But I don't know if you've watched my sharing developer stories, but the people that I've talked to, they just seem to have the same consistency behind why they code and why they became successful becoming software developers. And it's not about motivation, because motivation is so temporary. Some days you'll be really motivated and you'll code a lot. Some days you won't be motivated, you won't code a lot. But what keeps you consistent is like discipline. So discipline keeps you stay true to your true north, which is becoming a software developer. So yeah, burnout does exist, but I think you have to number one, like pace yourself. And number two, like you can't just be like, I'm only gonna code when I'm like very motivated. You have to do it on a consistent way, even when you don't want to do it. But if you really feel like you're burning out, then take a break. It's not the end of the world. You just do it. Do like you have to know why you want to do it. But at the end of the day, yeah, if you need your breaks, take your breaks. Go for a walk. Talk to other software developers about tech. You don't have to be coding all the time. So just try to figure out that right balance for you.
Yeah, and I think like everybody has their own like time commitment they're able to dedicate to work. So like in your case,
Yeah.
like you went to boot camp, and then how long afterwards, when you graduated, did you get your first job?
I think I thought I got my first job after a month, but I realized looking back at my LinkedIn, I did intern for like a month in New York City, and then afterwards I was able to find a full-time job a month later. So it took about two and a half months for me to land my first software developer job. I got really lucky because that company actually didn't accept me because they actually decided to go with my classmate.
Oh wow.
But they liked both of us. They just only had a slot for one. But luckily enough, after 2 months later, they said, "Hey, a spot opened up. Do you want the job?" And I just said yes. And then I didn't think twice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely.
You're like, it was so cool because you just didn't even have to interview. It was awesome.
Yeah, that those are the best, and this is like the one area where I talk about people should not underestimate the power of networking and making friends with other developers that work at companies. I recently applied to IBM, and I, put my resume in, and you know how a company like that, they just go through like the automatic reader, and I didn't have all the keywords that they were looking for, and they
Yeah.
literally just said like, yeah, you didn't make the cut in like a automated like auto respond email. And I have a friend who works at IBM. He's like, Paul, come on. If you would have gave me your resume, it would have went on top of the pile. I was like, you know what? I'll keep that in mind for later time. But he's like, sometimes that's how it is. And sometimes knowing somebody, and who's able to give you a referral is a good way to get in the door. And that's actually how I landed my first job. Somebody basically that I knew at a company, they were like, oh, I know this great React developer. He's awesome. You should give him an interview. And the guy's like, yeah, okay. And the other person talked me up so much when I came in, the guy didn't really ask me too many interview questions. He just right away went to being like, hey, this is what we're doing at our company, and started telling me we're having this issue with our project. What do you think we should do? And so I gave him my opinion, and he liked what I had to say, and he was like, you're hired, start Monday, which I would say 80% of that was the referral because they set the stage.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that referral and I just showed up, the guy probably would have been like, I don't know who you are. It's like, I'm going to ask you all these hard questions and see if I could like stump you.
That's true, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at my phone because I'm trying to post on my YouTube channel that I randomly joined your live stream, so I'm trying to give you a nice shout out on my own
Hey, awesome,
channel.
man. Always
So
appreciate it. Thank
give
you.
me 1 second while I do that for you. I don't know, not that I have a huge following, but what if you take all my 1,000 subscribers and then you'll hit
Listen, it's
2,000?
not gonna happen.
Let's
I
go.
saw the moment in time where you got it together, bro. I was like, because I was catching up, and there was like one instance where I was like one subscriber more, and then I looked at the data later. I'm like, ooh, he knows what's up. he
No,
figured it out,
I
and I
mean,
know you figured it out. And if you keep it
I
up, you got
yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, it's one of those things where some people like have way less videos than me and they have way significantly more subscribers, but I
yeah.
just like your coding journey, it's really it's really I wouldn't recommend to compare YouTube channels. If anything, you compare to like learn from them. But I realize if I hate on a channel or if I get jealous of a channel because they are successful, and I'm not saying you are, but it's just like it's a good like thing to like think about and just whatnot. But as long as fundamentally, and I believe this in that you are kind of like this, where it's as long as you genuinely care about the content you create, everything else will come. And I really believe that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. See, like I think we have a couple of questions here at the chat. Somebody said, beginning with the end in mind and figuring out what you need to learn to build it. Would that work? I guess if you have a end of the thing you want to do, I guess you could kind of figure things out because you do need to have a goal. So I think that would work.
Well, I mean, did that work for you when you decided to eventually build projects? Like, how did you know? I mean, obviously, you say you sat in front of a computer, didn't know what the hell you were doing. So you decided, I'm not going to use tutorials. I'm going to figure it out. But did you know what project you wanted to build? Did you like write on paper? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, that was like a really tough process because I realized that all the tutorials I took and majority of the tutorials out there, they don't tell you about the planning phase. They just
Mm,
show you, hey, let's start here. And that's like 80% of the thing. Like if you have a good plan, good outline, 80% of the work is done. Then all you have to do is sit down and code it. And so I was missing that. So I actually went out and I started like bugging my friends who are developers to be like, hey, what do you do when you're starting a first project? Or I would go on Google and
mm,
search like, what do you need to have before? Because one of the things people don't even consider is the fact that you probably want to organize your data that's going to be in a database and the format is going to be in. So when it's time for you to consume that data, you know what to do on the front end at least to make it work. And that's just stuff you don't think about. You know what I mean? And so it was a process and through trial and error. So now what I try to do when I plan on building something is to draw it out on paper first, figure out what kind of data I'm going to need. And I start small. Like another mistake I made, I did show like this other project I was building on that I had to pause for a second because I ended up having something that I called scope creep, where you keep adding things and adding things and adding things. And then before you know it, it's like you don't even know what happened. It's like the project is way bigger like than you could actually build by yourself. And that's what like some people have to understand. Like if you're building something yourself, like you kind of have to keep it realistic with your expectations and what you could realistically do. But what kind of projects have you worked on when you, or at least for your portfolio, when you graduated your boot camp?
I wish I remembered, but I remember one specific main project was it was kind of like a have you heard of Project Euler where you do a lot of algorithm questions?
No, I'm still like super basic. I use Cold Wars. Cold Wars is my favorite right
Okay.
now.
So we built something similar to like leak code, but specific to Project Euler problems. And essentially, you would get authenticated and log in, and then you choose a coding language like Python, Ruby, JavaScript, or whatever. And then you essentially can write code to solve the actual problem, and then you upload it. And
Oh,
then
that's
we didn't
awesome.
really have like a test case for it, or like we didn't have tests around it, but essentially you could post it and then share it with people that are also members of this platform, and then you can message people that are currently online that are working on it as well. So it was a mixture of using like WebSockets, authentication, building a coding language, and also like providing our database with the questions, but also people's answers. So it was kind of like this all-in-one place where you could kind of practice your code and practice algorithms.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That the question in terms of algorithms, by the way, I'm kind of with the idea that if you don't know how to build something, don't even bother spending time on trying to learn too many like complex algorithms and data structures. Like if you don't know how to build a basic website, maybe it's a little too early. Because I know like if you took a college course, sometimes that's what they start with. And they have the opposite problem. You could be good at solving algorithms and understanding data structures, but you can't build a simple website. So for me, it's like when you're starting to do interview prep, like this is where I am right now, I'm spending more time on doing algorithm stuff and data structures. What has your kind of experience been with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. In that sense, it's very hard for me to recommend to memorize algorithm problems and things like that. To a certain extent, you are, but even me preparing for interviews and things like that, I was like, there's no way I could just memorize all of this. And then even if I did, there's no way that I'm ever gonna remember all this the way I'm studying. So I would highly recommend, yeah, like learn how to solve problems, but that using that experience will give you a better idea of how to solve algorithm problems when you look up the solution and be like, okay, this is how they did it. This is how you should approach this kind of problems because your experience of doing even front end development where you're like mapping over something or you're using filters or all of these little like utility tools that exist in JavaScript, you can kind of apply it to the algorithm problem. But if you don't even know how to use your tools, there's no way you're going to really be able to solve the algorithm problems. The algorithm problems are already hard as is, but if
Yeah,
you don't even have like a very familiar understanding of just the basics of looping or filtering or I don't know, like recursion or things like that, you're not going to be able to solve algorithm problems. And if you do look at the solution, all you're doing is just memorizing it for the sake of memorizing. And that's not a good way to do it because you have no idea what the heck they're going to test you on.
right,
Like being a
right.
software developer isn't how much you like memorize, it's about how much you can adapt to
Yeah,
variabilities essentially. So I think that's
yeah.
super important about it.
No, 100%. Do you have some more questions? What is the best way to apply for a job? In do you use I mean, like you've been working for a while, but I know there's LinkedIn, but I heard a lot of people use Angel's List or use like Hire.com or other sites. Are there any places that you would recommend that probably for junior web or people who are at the beginning of their journey would probably have a better time?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna make a video about this, but I'm gonna give you the inside scoop in terms of how to best talk to recruiters and things like that. And it's weirdly enough, if the that you find is to your suit and you have the proper skills for it, you literally need to message the recruiter saying that, hey, I saw your post on XYZ. This is the job requisition ID, and I would like to apply. Here's my portfolio, link to my portfolio. That's all you need to say. You don't need to be like, yeah, of course you want to like build a relationship with the recruiter, and that's a lot of things that a lot of YouTubers and YouTube developers talk about. Like you need to talk to these recruiters like 3 months, 6 months beforehand. But based on the I've talked to like 25 to 30 recruiters. Um, and I would say 90% of them have just said, look, yes, we want to build relationships, but we're getting millions of messages all the time. So, and specifically, if there is a job posting, that is when it is an urgent hire, essentially. So, if you give the job ID number and then you tell them what skills you have that's relatable to the actual job description, and then you provide them your portfolio, and they think it's a good match, they'll actually respond to you. So that is my secret sauce that I'm probably gonna talk about in my future videos, but I'm sharing it right now. It's crazy because it sounds so transactional, but that's what they want. So
Yeah.
it was a
And you
learning
know
for
what?
me.
Like it makes perfect sense. By the way, the fact that you shared everybody who's here, go subscribe to Tech Rally's channel. By the way, that tip makes more sense because if you think of a recruiter who's probably got so many different people they're talking to, and if you kind of take the initiative, contact them with no BS, just here, bam, 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 they're like, hey, this is someone that might actually be perfect for the role, and they're gonna go ahead and do it. Like I could definitely see that being like a very good tip.
Yeah, and
I'm
it
gonna,
kind of it makes sense because you're gonna talk to what are you gonna talk to them about? Like, oh, the day's nice, and
yeah,
I'm sure
exactly. They don't care
recruiting is
about
very
that. They want to
tough
get
on
paid.
you with all these million messages. Like, it's good small talk that you would have with a friend, but
Yeah,
let's just call it what it is. You're looking for a job and they're trying to hire. So let's make it work and we'll see what happens. And then you could talk about the good feel stuff afterwards, when you
right,
get the job.
right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, recruiters just want to make their money. They don't want
You want
to.
to make that money. Yeah,
That's that.
exactly.
So
You want to
the
get people
easier you
jobs.
make
Yeah.
their job for them, the more they're gonna like you for sure. So that's a great tip. So
Yeah.
here's an interesting comment. Hey guys, do you think working as a web developer at a company is very stressful? My eyes are burning. I can't even sleep properly. So I'm the wrong person to ask this question because the first company I got hired and the one that I'm still working, it is a shit show. But I like the pressure. I like the stress, and it's my first job, and I've been there for a year, and I'm getting ready to, head out. So I'm the wrong person to ask about a non-toxic company. But what has your experience been in terms of stress and working at a company? I know you've been at your company for at least the one that you had before 5 years, and you wish you would have left earlier. But I think that's a lot of great lessons there.
Yeah, I mean, I think stress with any job is gonna be normal, right? And there's gonna be ups and there's gonna be downs. Specific to software development, I mean, I would question and ask if I was doing one-on-one coaching, I would be like, what is stressing you about software development? Is the fact that you're your own worst enemy because you don't know how to solve this problem? Or are you a junior developer and you feel like you're getting assigned a bunch of tickets that is meant for senior developers? Are you not getting enough pairing? Are you not telling your manager like, "Hey, I need help?" Like that question is very open-ended, and like if I was talking to that person, I would try to get into specifics of why you're stressed. Like, are you doing this to yourself, or is your boss kind of giving you a hard time saying like you're not performing? And if he's
Right.
saying that you're not performing, then you could ask him like, "Hey, I work best when I'm able to pair 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 1 hour per day. Is that something we could do?" So, because I want to provide value to this company, and right now, like the way it's set up, it's just not ideal for me, and it's causing me a lot of stress. And you can be honest about those kind of things.
Right.
So I'd just be curious what stress is to that person that asked that question, because I think that will kind of more break down what is the actual problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you mentioned your coaching. And by the way, like anybody who's interested, I know you put the link on your videos. If you want, you could put a link in the chat here too. But what do you typically do as like your first, like, somebody who's like, hey, I want to do some coaching. What is the process for you, the first conversation, and what are the goals that you have for people that come in asking for your help?
Yeah, so originally I was doing a lot of free coaching, and that's something that I really enjoyed doing because I genuinely really like helping people. But
Yeah.
I've kind of changed that pricing to $50, or I think it's $50 for an hour. And it has nothing to do with me trying to make a lot of money. Like $50 isn't really going to do anything for me for 60 minutes, but it's just more of like a filter to see how badly do you want to get this kind of information. I think a lot of times we live in a world where it's like everything should be free, but
Yeah.
to a certain extent, I just want to just kind of create that separation of like, I really feel that I bring a lot of value, and I've seen people that gotten jobs through my guidance and things like that. Um, but like ultimately the goal is to help you find that job. So ideally, I am looking for people that either graduated from a coding boot camp, or just they're self-taught developers that have a couple of portfolios already, a resume, and they can't seem to be able to get that first job. So we dissect a lot of different things like your LinkedIn, your resume. Um, have you done interviews before? And if you have, what do you think was the problem behind it? Just a lot of those things. It's not like, I think there's a very big distinction between mentoring and coaching, because
Right.
mentors are just more like, oh, like what are you learning? I think you should learn this technology and things like that. Coaching in general is very specific to what you're trying to accomplish, salary negotiations,
Right.
finding that first job, becoming mid to senior level developer. How do you establish that relationship earlier with your manager to make sure you know exactly what you want when that review cycle comes up? I've seen so many people that have worked really, really hard only to find out they got a crappy raise at the end because they didn't convey to their boss what their expectations were. And it's
Right.
just like simple conversations like that is what I think coaching is doing, is like basically leveling up yourself to get to that next level, whatever that may be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think like that distinction between mentoring and coaching, where coaching you work on the specifics, helping people to actually figure out like what they need to do to actually, get their job. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, especially in a situation where they might have a portfolio, they might have a resume, and they're like, "What's going on?" I thought that's all you needed to have,
Yeah.
So
And I just see a lot of patterns with a lot of different. I mean, everyone has their own unique story, but very similar patterns. So in the future, there's something that it might be in the pipeline where I could kind of apply what I've learned and what through my one-on-one coaching to more of a wider audience. Because ultimately, like I said, I want to help a lot of people break into tech and break and land their first job. So, coaching is something I like to do, but ultimately, I want to be able to scale it. So I realize coaching may not be for me long term unless it's very
right,
specialized. I really
yeah.
want that specialized, but ultimately, I think there's going to be some other directions I might go into. But I'll elaborate that more in the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, coaching is impossible to scale. I used to do MMA and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I did private lessons. It was $150 an hour because, like, we had people signing up for, like, 5, 6 hours a day, and it's like, you can't scale that. Like, what, that's, so, like, I actually enjoy doing group classes more because
Mhm.
it was just much easier, in terms of, like, getting paid. Like this one guy I know, they're like, "How much you charge an hour?" He's like, $500. He's like, "Why so much?" He's like, "Because like I don't have time. I don't have time to do this one on one with you." So you know, it's
Yeah, and
crazy.
that's kind of one thing that I'm real. Maybe you're kind of experiencing this too as you're getting a bigger following now on YouTube. Is you want to help people, and in the beginning when you had 300, it's a little bit easier. But
Yeah,
as you're getting more and more subscribers, more DMs, more emails, it's just like it's hard to respond to every single person. So, I think with your content, you're able to scale that, right? Because you're able to
yeah, hundred
share
percent.
exactly like three areas to focus on. On focus on when learning how to code to get hired, right? This is like valuable information that you could kind of technically scale because everyone's listening to it.
Yeah, yeah, man. Like we have a lot of questions. I'm learning JavaScript. I have no idea what I'm extracting a number, a string from an array, or extracting a key or value from an object. Feel like I'm learning random stuff with no direction. Sounds like it. It's like what I would say. Um, you know, any tips on like, cause I know that like yeah, I'm kind of laughing at this, but we've all been there, and like what is your approach for structuring, like at least your study time or how to focus on things? Like to me, like there's an art to studying, and I actually like try to find like tips on how to study better. But in your experience, like what have you done that has helped you the most when learning to code?
Oh man, I'm a little weird in that sense. I like chaos, so I listen to music and then like I would sometimes even have like something running on the side of like Netflix. But maybe that's just because I'm like more experienced. But if I really, really need to focus, I actually have two monitors and a laptop. But what I do is I actually disconnect from everything and I
Yeah.
just look only at my laptop. Because sometimes I realize like I have too many screens open and then I can't focus. So if I just go on my single laptop and I just need to do what I need to do and without any distractions, I like keep just that one screen. That's usually what helps me. And then in terms of breaking things down, I like to use console logs. So yeah, you may be getting a key value pair, or yeah, you may be getting a number. But you should console log out right before that happens to see why it's happening, right? So a lot of console logs have been my best friend, or debugger, whatever is your like bread and butter. But I think you have to like what I like to do is before I run the code, I always ask myself what I think is going to happen. And the reason why I do that is because I'm telling myself why I believe this. And I may be wrong, but at least I justified it. And then
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
wrong, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm wrong because of this, right? So as like I keep talking to myself, like, yeah, this makes sense because I think this is gonna happen. And then I'm like completely wrong, but I'm like, okay, I get why this happened because I messed up this variable here or whatever. But at least I'm
Yeah,
like
and
talking to myself.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like arrays, objects, unless you're like consuming something from the API and you're still getting JSON from there anyway, you're creating that array, you're creating that object. So you should probably take a look at what you're doing, initially when you're doing that. Like maybe, you use the double equal sign instead of a triple equal sign when
Yeah,
you're doing your JavaScript, which is like insane. But yeah, so much stuff could go wrong. The one thing I started doing that helped me a lot when I do tutorials, I don't code along with a tutorial. I just recently started doing this literally like a month ago. I just take notes and then I try to do stuff off my notes because I think like writing stuff down, you kind of breaking apart that like mindless thing where you're looking at the screen and typing along with the instructor. And I kind of wanted to relate that to like doing a tutorial is like being a child who wants to draw a hand. So they put their hand on top of it and they outline it. That's what you're doing with tutorials. What you need to do is like, make it a little bit more challenging and try to, look at the hand and then try draw it by yourself, and that has been helping me kind of practicing the recall of information. And if I don't understand something, obviously I can't recall it well. So I just go back and spend a little bit more time studying. And that's something that has been helping me like a lot more.
That's a super great analogy. And I actually was thinking the same thing about that same mindset of what tutorials were, where it's like, remember when you see a drawing on something, you put a paper over it and you just trace
Exactly.
over the paper. That's kind
100%.
of like how I always thought coding tutorials were. It's just like it gives you this false confidence that you're an artist, but then when you try to draw it yourself, you're like, wait, this looks completely different. So I totally get that analogy. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, we have another question here. I don't mind getting hard questions, but I can't even get an interview. In a bunch of people I talk to, they're saying that a lot of times just be maybe your portfolio is not your portfolio, but even your resume is not written in a way that is getting people interested in what you have to say, and it could be just rewarding your resume. It seems in most cases, and obviously you should have a portfolio, but that's kind of what I found out in my experience when something wasn't happening. Tweaking my resume was the thing that I had to do.
Yeah, and when I talk to those like 20 plus 30 recruiters, it's you have to tailor your resume to the job description. So you can't just do one resume for all. You have to find the right keywords, and that keyword matching, that's not the recruiters doing it. It's literally like an algorithm matching
Right.
it. So if you think that just writing all the front end frameworks on a back end like position is gonna work, it's definitely not, right? So you gotta make sure you know what you're applying to and tailor your resume that way. Like the shotgun approach works in some sense, but you gotta make sure each pellet is like unique to each one. So
Right,
otherwise you're
exactly, exactly. And that's something a lot of people like. Don't be lazy about your resume. And I'm saying it with like the best intention in mind. But if you're applying to like five different companies, there should be five different resumes geared directly for those companies. And if you want, that will definitely
exactly.
help you to increase your chances. So definitely
And it
don't do the shotgun approach where you just have like same resume, you send it to 100 people because probably 100 people are going to say no. That's just the nature of it. And I mean, I only know this because that's the mistakes I've made. And when I say this stuff to you guys, I mean, it's from the bottom of my heart, man. Don't make these dumb mistakes. And that's why, like, I call them dumb mistakes because I think I was dumb when I made them. And so, like, but the truth is, a lot of people are not aware of it. And, especially when they're starting out. And this is why they need, like, channels like your channel, to go and check out. Because especially if you're brand new, like just learning to code is hard, but that's like a small percent of what it's going to take you to get a job, for sure.
yeah, that makes
What
sense.
what technologies do you work with? I've been meaning to ask you that, but I keep forgetting. What do you do at
What
work, or what
what
do you
what
like the most?
what do I do at work? Like what technologies and stuff?
Or yeah, or what is your favorite tech to use?
I'm a big React guy, so I
There
love
you go.
React, JavaScript. That's
Yep.
kind of my go-to jam. I wish I just had more time to learn other technologies, but you know what? That's why I don't really make those top five coding languages because I actually don't really code in anything but JavaScript mostly.
Yeah.
And it would just be a disservice to say like you should learn Go or whatever because I actually
Yeah,
don't know anything
exactly. No, I totally get it.
about it yet.
Same.
So
I'm like,
I'm a big JavaScript guy. I like
same.
Ruby. Um, but I haven't used Ruby in a while either. So there's a lot of stuff that I wish I had more time to do. But I just don't have it, and JavaScript gets the job done for me, and that's fine. Maybe I'll learn C sharp because
Yeah, I'm
we got a
trying to
few
learn C
buddies who
sharp right
love C
now, but
sharp.
I'm
So
like, I love React and JavaScript so much more that at work I learned just the bare amount of C sharp just to get
yeah,
by. A lot of copy
yeah.
and pasting, and then back to React. But here's like cool questions. React hooks or class-based components? I mean, I don't even know who uses class-based components unless it's legacy code at this point. But I mean, you
Yeah.
should know class-based components, but hooks are amazing. And once you start writing your own custom hooks, oh my God, things become amazing.
Yeah, and to be honest, I wish so at my old job, it was an old legacy code, so a lot of class-based components, and I built a lot of side projects using the standard hooks, but the custom hooks are something I still need to get a little bit better on in terms of just when to use it or how to create not how to create one, but just like when is it a good time to use a custom hook. It just seems like it's like normal functions that return a set of values, but I feel like you could custom hook anything in that sense. So it's like I think one thing about hooks is the best practices aren't really quite established like class-based ones are, but it feels like hooks is like the direction that a lot of people are going to. So probably hooks,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. I like this comment here. Yeah, right. Console log is the low-key debugger when you have no clue what's going on the code. Honestly, I use console log because I'm too lazy to put the breakpoints in and step to the code. So I try console log first, and then if that doesn't work, then I'll be like, all right, here we go. Let's put these breakpoints in. Let's step to this code. But
Yeah.
actually, this is a good segue. When I first got my first job, I had no idea what debugging was because not a lot of tutorials cover it. And then I remember sitting down like my third day, and the guy's like, he's like, okay, now you're gonna test the code, and he said big words that I know, and I was just like, oh boy, I'm gonna get
Oh
fired
no.
tomorrow. This is definitely happening. I'm gonna lose my job. And he's like, and then another thing, like he's like, you have to like document the process. I was like, what? Because like that's not something you like expect. I mean, you don't ever do like on your personal projects, but it was like this whole process. Maybe it's because we don't have any dedicated QA people. I don't know, but
What do you mean
yeah.
document the process? Like, did you have to like write a README for every file?
So I forgot what the term he used, but he literally wanted to document what specifically triggers that bug. Find out the bug and then try to document what specifically like replicate the bug. So I basically was like, yeah, and then I deferred it to somebody else and never did it. And it's still probably somewhere in the bug tracker that we have at work. But
That's so funny.
the issue that with my company is it's a very small company, and they basically throw everything at you with the idea that you're going to be able to do it, and only when you can't do it they'll give it to someone more like senior or intermediate whatever developer. At my second day they wanted me to implement this whole security in C sharp, and I'm a React and JavaScript guy, and I was like, you read my resume, you know what I applied for, how am I supposed to know? And he's like, just figure it out. And I'm like, that's not how
Yeah.
it works. So
Yeah, that's not how it works. Oh my goodness.
horror stories from my job.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. I don't know how. I mean, that's one thing that I would have to say is kind of daunting for maybe even new developers is that sometimes you may be, yeah, you got your first job or your second job, but man, they don't have the infrastructure around the company to really support junior developers. Like they treat them like they're mid-level developers sometimes, and you're just kind of like, what the heck? Like I didn't sign up for this, or I thought there would be a little bit more like mentorship or things like that. So I think for someone that went through a coding boot camp, I realized that at least for me, I like to try to put them in a position where they could succeed. So I go out of my way to pair with them, and even though it's like super exhausting, it's something that it's just like initial commitment that I'll be willing to do, so they don't have to ask me later. Like, of course, they'll still ask me questions, but it's gonna be a lot less questions because
Yeah.
I've already put hours and hours into this person that they don't have to ask me for help. It's like teaching someone and then just letting them go and run
Yeah, we
free.
don't do any pairing at my job. Just to
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty insane. And I would say it would save the company time and money if they did have a systematic process to do that. you know?
Y- y- Yeah, and then like the thing is, I mean, I'm not gonna act like my boss told me to do that. That's something that I just did because I remember the value of being able to pair with someone. Because uh, one of the things that I noticed that junior developers do is that, and this is maybe a good thing for like interview prep in general, is like I keep emphasizing talk to yourself and explain to yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Because when I when I when I when I pair with these junior developers, they're like doing the work. I'm like, okay, so like, why did you do this? And they're like, I mean, I think the map should work here. I'm like, well, like, but why did you do this? Like, tell me why you're like, what do you expect the output to be right here? We don't even have to like refresh the browser. Just tell me what do you expect right here. And then
Yeah.
once they actually start articulating their thoughts, they're like, oh, actually, yeah, this might not work or this might work. It's such a different way to do it because the way they were originally doing was they would write code, run the code, get an error, and then go back to trying to fix it. But they don't ever like think about why they wrote the code to get to that point. So it's like a
Wow.
very distinct difference, but it makes such a big difference. So
Here's from the same guy. I feel bad, but I think this is like a interesting one. I messaged a lot of people on LinkedIn, few reply back, but most tell me to go to a website to apply for a job, which to me seems it's like one of those like a nice way, like a girl saying, "Why don't you go ask my friend? Maybe she'll date you," you
yeah,
know, which is terrible, terrible. But I think in like this case, I would say that like you were saying, maybe take a look at someone's portfolio and resume and really see where the issue lies. Like especially if you know what you're doing in terms of coding, because if like if you don't present yourself in a way where someone's gonna be able to in 3 seconds looking at your resume and be like, hey, let's give this guy a chance. It has nothing personally against you. It's just your resume might just be missing certain types of wording that they're looking for, you know?
and you also have to consider that your LinkedIn is also your resume.
Right.
So the fact that they probably responded means they looked at your profile, but maybe there's something that wasn't very clear, like, oh, this person is good for this position. So I
Right.
wonder, the keyword matching and things like that, if it still exists or if it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Hearing
like
Bobby.
the thing
Sorry, I
I
was just
tell
thinking.
people, it's like it's not easy. This is hard. Like who like I mean, there's so many channels out there, and there's that guy, clever programmer, whatever, or simple. The guy who's like super excited, and he's like, JavaScript class to make $100,000. You're gonna do this. Like he's a good and amazing business person, salesperson, and maybe his courses are good. But I feel like it's not fair to kind of set the expectation that all it takes is one course and you're going to land a
Yeah.
job making 100K, because I'm going to tell you right now, majority of self-taught developers, they don't start making 100K.
Yeah, I mean, I even made a video about my first salary coming out of a boot camp. It definitely wasn't 100K. So
Yeah.
I I think our friend Bobby says it best, where it's like it's a road to 100K, and it really
Right.
is because it's just baby steps. You just got you can't you gotta crawl before you can walk, right? So it's so
Yeah.
true.
It's funny because I have a friend, he's like, what do you mean? Like, I learned Python in 3 months and then I got a job making $150,000. I'm like, bro, you have a PhD in math. I think that might have had something to do with it. I'm like, it's like it's your Python coding that you did. That was like the icing on the top, so you could use it to solve your math problems that you're writing. That's what it
Yeah, I
was.
mean, it sounds like he's a pretty smart dude in general
Yeah,
before
he's
coding.
super
So
smart. His IQ is out like through here. Like that dude
yeah,
makes money no matter what. It's just
yeah,
but
that guy's
but
great.
that's what I'm saying. Gotta set realistic expectations. You can't just be like, I think a lot of people want to follow and chase the dream, but no matter what it is you do, like that's worth doing. It's gonna be hard, and coding is not easy, and it is very difficult, and you like there's been so many nights where I'm like, I'm gonna throw the screen out the window. This is happening today. I'm getting a new monitor tomorrow because this is not working for me right now.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I will have to say that maybe the audience didn't get to hear you say was, this is like an obsession or this is something I actually legitimately enjoy. I don't
Right.
think once you really mention like well, I do it just for the money. You know, like I
Yeah,
do this because money makes me happy. It's weirdly enough, the people that I've talked to that have succeeded and are making good money, like they don't really think about the money too much. Like the money
right.
comes, don't get me wrong, but it's like their weird obsession. Like for me, I always describe it as solving a never-ending Rubik's cube, and it's just this thing where my brain is always getting stimulated with code, and that's why I enjoy coding. But if your main motivation is I don't know, just for money purposes, strictly for the money, it might not be the best for you because you're gonna be looking at a screen like 10, 12, like 8 to 12 hours a day, so
Yeah,
potentially, and it might be really bad. But I mean, like, but at the same time, money is important. Like maybe you have to raise a family and things like that, and that could be a motivating factor. But if it's not that kind of situation where you're just like, oh, I think coding will be good for me because money is good. Like it's
yeah.
it's
But
weird.
I would make an argument like, that there's easier ways to make money. Like I'll give you
True.
an example. I'll give you an example. Like before I did coding, I used to run a martial arts school, and I made more money than I do now. I literally don't make even half as much as I used to make because I was a business owner. But due to injuries and due to stuff like other things, like I wanted to do something else, and I always enjoyed coding. So it was like, hey, this is what I'm going to try and do. If I fail, at least I like the journey and the process, so I'm going to give it a try. But like a lot of people who were looking from the other side of me having a successful business, they're like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? Like, you're
Mhm.
making so much money. And I was like, look, like, yeah, it's great money. My body's all messed up. And I know that going to learning to code, it's going to be starting from like the bottom and working my way up. But I knew it wasn't going to be like, I knew it was going to be difficult, but I knew it wasn't going to be impossible because I enjoy it. And I think like when you enjoy something, it does make it easier to suffer through. You know what I mean? And you do
Yeah,
suffer through learning to code.
yeah, you gotta enjoy the process. This is not, I mean, and that's kind of the part where talk about. I think the thing about motivation is I feel like I really just enjoy it, and that's what keeps me going. Not necessarily like, oh, why do I have my why do these metrics, these false metrics of what consider makes you happy is so odd to me at times. But as long as you actually legitimately enjoy it, and yeah, like of course you're gonna want that first job, and that's gonna weigh on you, but let me say that once you do get that job, it's just night and day. Like now you get paid to learn
Yeah,
essentially for the rest of
100%. And
the
you
year.
do learn like a lot at your work. Like I complain about my work, but I learned more in that 1 year that I probably did in the 5 years prior to that. 100%.
I
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly. Just
It's
a
like
level up
insane. It's
paying,
insane because
yeah.
you're spending 8 hours at least
Yeah.
doing code related stuff. Here's a good question. I have been learning web development for 3 months. After finishing a few Udemy courses, I feel like my fundamentals are not strong enough. So I joined an online study group and we are doing algorithm and lead code. So what I'm going to say to this, and then you could give me your opinion. I think if you can't build a simple website, you shouldn't be on lead code. That's basically going to be simple. I know it sounds like it's not, I don't want to say it's mean or not because that's the same advice I give myself. I don't even study lead code right now because if you can't build at least 3 projects for your portfolio, um, or at least build something, I don't think like at least like doing lead code, like I don't see how that's going to help you get a job sooner if you can't build something. I'll just give this final tip. At my job, I've been there for a year. I'm yet to solve a complicated algorithm or data structure issue that either hasn't been figured out ahead of time by someone more senior and they just want me to implement it, or just been a need for it. But what is your thought on that? Yeah, I'll put that back up again.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with your sentiment, especially because it seems like they've just been learning for only 3 months. So uh, leak code is good, but it should come at a later time. And unless you're like applying to Fang and stuff, which 3 months into coding Fang will be pretty difficult in my opinion. When I say Fang, it's like Facebook, Apple,
Yeah, yeah,
Amazon, Netflix, Google. So like what you should be trying to go for is like small to medium sized companies,
100%.
and you have to be very very clear of what kind of role you're interviewing for. So if it's like a front end role that the company uses React, you better know how to use React more than you know how to use leak code or like do leak
Right.
code
Yeah,
problems.
100%. Yeah.
So I think I completely agree with you. Like projects should be the ones that come first because you know what, doing leak code doesn't showcase anything. Also, like you could at least showcase your projects and your portfolio. So it's just killing two birds with one stone, where you're learning how to code and building projects. Plus, you get to share it with the recruiters. But doing legal problems where you could like show them like a little badge that said you completed algorithm problems, like I don't really see the value in that from even from the recruiter side. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Here's another one where I'm surprised it's still like a question, but I totally understand why. But it's something desirable for developers to have an A plus, Security plus, or Cisco cert. And I would say if you're going into networking and system admin or something similar in those terms, those are the certs for that. But if you're looking to get into web development, none of those certs will help you, in my opinion. You know,
I completely agree. That's I mean, I just found it even weird that my old coding bootcamp school has a certification of completion. Um,
yeah,
we didn't have that when I went, but I kind of get it because it kind of validates that you completed the course and something you put on LinkedIn. But I think certifications, unless it's like AWS certs or something like that, it's not worth it. I mean, people have gotten in without. I don't know. I don't. So I think certs are sometimes feel a little scammy at times, but specific certs will be helpful. But for web development, I've never really seen like a cert that really makes sense.
yeah, I don't think like, yeah, especially A plus. Those I took in like 1999 when I did networking at school, like literally back then, But they're not important at all for web development, and I would stand by it. Here's a good one that I like a lot. There are many YouTubers who create false expectations. Coding is not gaming, brother. 100% agree with you. That's why if you watch my channel or Tech Rally's channel, none of us tell you that it's easy, and none of us are gonna lie to you and tell you that you're gonna make $100,000 by giving us money for this course. It's just not the truth. And I think the best thing you could do is set like realistic expectation. When I tell people about learning to code, I tell them you got to embrace the suck, because it is going to suck and you have to work hard on it. And it is a shame that there's a lot of people that just have millions of followers and they're really good marketing guys and they're selling courses. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that like at some point Tech Rally wants to sell something, I want to sell something, but based on like what I hear from him and I know myself, we would never set expectations where we're going to tell you that it's going to be easy and that in 2-3 months you're going to make $150,000, because that's the if there's a thing that's going to hurt you the most is for you to believe those expectations, because this was going to happen. My journey, by the way, it took me 5 years to get to my job because there are many reasons. I definitely think a lot of people could get there sooner, but if you set an expectation that in 3 months you're going to get a job and in 3 months you still can't make a basic website, you're going to give up, you're going to quit, you're going to feel down, you're going to think that coding is not for you. And it's not that it's not for you, it's that you had unrealistic expectations and you may have not put in enough time to where that stuff's starting to click. I mean, it took me a year before stuff started to click in my head, so definitely very important in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I mean, I think I was a little lucky in a sense, and I'll say it's lucky that I was able to do a 3 month boot camp and then find a job 2 months later, so maybe half a year. But you have to also understand that I was not doing a self-taught route. I was in a in-person boot camp, spending what, from 9 to 5 being at school, and then 6 to like 12 a.m. Or yeah, 6 to 12 a.m. learning how to code and just eat like dinner for like 30 minutes. And I did that every single day. I l- I moved to New York City from Austin. I didn't know anybody in New York City, and that was very intentional because I didn't want to have any distractions during that 3 months while I was there. And also, I said no to going to two weddings. I said no to like four birthday parties or engagement parties, whatever. I said no to everything. And even then, it still took me 3 more months to find the actual full time job. So uh, I literally had zero distractions, and it was still pretty hard to find a job. So if you're in a
Yeah.
self-taught developer route where there are going to be a lot of distractions, you have to understand you gotta it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And I don't know how to like re-emphasize how much sacrifice I had to make to go to a coding bootcamp school and say no. But I had to say no to so many things to make this a career.
So what I like about like the smaller channels on YouTube is because we're still in the trenches. We're still struggling. We're still like, we didn't make it yet. So the pain, like I still feel the pain. It's still here. Like just the other day, like, like we know what's up. And like, but if somebody made, like I have a friend, he's like a super senior, extra senior. He like worked for Google. And he's like, yeah, like learning to code is easy. You just do it and you get a job. He completely like just has this warped attitude towards it because he's been doing it forever and he doesn't even need a portfolio to get a job. They just look at his last company he worked at. They're like, oh, this is a pretty good company, we're gonna hire him. So it's
I
pretty
think that we
wild.
should, like one, maybe even both of us, we should make our own individuals and compare like our YouTube growth to what it's like to being a software developer. Because in some ways, it's so similar. Like you have to grind, you have to make content, and you're like are trying to help people. And in some ways, like I want to say that my YouTube channel is like a representation of me doing my software development journey again in terms of just the struggle, the difficulties of, you know, like building content that's meaningful, like maybe not having enough people watching your channel and things like that. It's like it's not about the oh my god, I sucked at one video, so I don't want to do this again. Just like software development, it's like oh I don't feel like coding today. It's the same thing, just a different type of work. But like once we hit our like 10,000, 15,000,
Yeah,
we can just say, look, like it's the same thing, it's just same grind. You just gotta embrace the grind.
what's crazy though, the YouTube grind is the hardest grind ever. A lot of people don't understand that. I much rather like fucking keep doing my job. Sorry, I usually don't swear on this channel, but like my God, YouTube will break you. It will break you for sure. It's the grind is real, and and it's just like anytime I see someone start to like break out of it, I'm like, man, I want to know. And the answer is like, you just got to grind it out. You just got to put in your work. It's like, there's no
Yeah, I mean,
shortcuts
I
on
saw my
YouTube.
video. I think I have about 100 something videos actually. So no one can say that I didn't try to grind, but I mean, I definitely took breaks. So,
Yeah.
um, luckily, I was more exposed to the potential of what I could do during the 3 weeks that I was not working. But now that I know, like, I've started actually working again. But I'm probably gonna make a video about that soon about where I'm
Yeah.
working. But at least now that got like a little glimpse of what's possible, I kind of want to make sure I'm still consistent with it. Although probably a little less videos. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, if you guys are just joining us, don't be shy, ask questions. We're having a great conversation with Tack Crowley. He has an amazing channel. Go check him out. He also does coaching. So if you have a portfolio, you have a resume, but you're still not able to get that job, he's the guy for you. If you're looking, though, for some general mentoring, and like I'm not going to hold your hands, but we do have a Slack group where we work on community projects. So if you're just starting out and you're looking to build a portfolio, shoot me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. I could add you to our Slack. And once you get your portfolio, you could go to TechRel and he'll get you a job if you're good. If you're good,
We'll work on
So
getting you a job.
yeah, but I'm just yeah, I don't. I'm just messing when I make it. Like, there's no guarantees or promises. It's like you can't guarantee. I could guarantee 100% that you're probably not gonna get a job. That way, like at least when you
I
get a
guarantee
job, it's gonna be a
100%. I will
pleasant
try my
surprise.
best.
Yeah, yeah. Um, let's
And
see.
you have a pretty lively stream. I actually posted on my Discord, so hopefully more people join.
Yeah, I just like to have fun. And like to me,
Yeah, this is a
like
fun one.
and I'm glad you were able to jump in. It's amazing, and I like doing like these talking ones as well. This is my first one actually having someone live, so I'm glad it's like working out. And I usually try to engage with people a lot because I want to see what they have to say. It's always fun.
Yeah, and I definitely want you on the sharing developer story series. I love your story. I love jiu-jitsu. I mean, yeah, actually, I don't know if you know, but one other YouTuber, Dorian, develops. He also was
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
jiu-jitsu guy. I don't know if you ever connected that through that, but
Yeah, I gotta talk to him. Yeah, I've been kind of like, talking about making sacrifices. I kind of stopped doing jujitsu. It's been 2 years for me, which is kind of crazy because I've done jujitsu for 16 years, for
oh
like
man.
for like 10 hours a day. Like I used to live not too far from New York, so I used to go to Henzo's Academy over there. I used to
Mhm.
run a place like not too far from Stanford. I actually just recently moved to Austin, so we kind of did a trade. Make sure the
I
universe
see.
doesn't end. You went to New York, I went to Austin, It's all good. But yeah, so sacrifices when learning to code, like, yeah, you got to make them. But yeah, jujitsu, a lot of people that do coding also like jujitsu. It's kind of funny.
That's so interesting. I wonder why. Yeah.
Here's a great question. Actually, do front end devs need to be masters in CSS and design principles? Is it okay to be good at JavaScript and React? I think you need to know CSS, but you definitely don't have to be a master. You know.
Uh,
Uh oh.
I would have to kind of disagree. It depends. Like front end dev, you can maybe starting to mid. You don't need to know as much CSS, but I would have to say the senior level
Oh
developers that
yeah.
are focused on the front end, they build very scalable CSS.
Right.
And what I mean is that you don't write like monkey code CSS just to make it work. There's like there's a practice or a standard that they very heavily push for, which I
Yep.
noticed that senior developers do, a senior on the front end do. I've seen a lot of back end developers try to write CSS and it was complete garbage. But
Yeah.
like when you notice, when you know, right? And like when you see, you know too. Like wow, they're like really pushing for this kind of standard, and you just know that like long term wise, you're in good hands with your CSS, and that means like
Yeah.
no overriding conflicts, no overriding
Right.
classes, and things like that. Yeah.
I feel as a junior dev, a lot of times there'll be documentation that you follow that will help you to kind of adhere to the standards. And of course, your
Hmm.
code is going to be reviewed. But I think like to get a job, you don't need to be a master, but definitely as
Yes.
you start getting more advanced. And I know there are people that specialize in CSS and animation, and that's what they do. So in that case, I think you do have to be a CSS whiz, you know, if
Right.
that's your
And you don't
specialty.
honestly even animations is kind of it's a very small, it's a very specific niche that I don't
Yeah,
think you really need to know. Like I suck at animations for CSS, but I
same.
would still say I'm pretty good at CSS because I just know how to like move stuff around the in my browser if I need to, right? But that's all,
Yeah.
like that's what I mean by good at CSS. You like animations is great, but it's not something you do on an everyday basis.
Yeah,
So
I tell people that you should be able to take a website and look at it and clone it with HTML and CSS. And if you could kind of do
yeah.
that like 90% of the time, you're good to go. You know, it doesn't have to be like crazy animations, but if you have that general level, you'll be good.
I completely agree. I think the that's kind of the front end developer skills, the CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. And like even for interviews, I would highly recommend that you need to know your CSS at a basic level. Like I can, if you're interviewing for a front end position, you best believe that they're gonna test you on JavaScript. You best believe that they're gonna test you on some type of HTML and CSS. And if they say React or Vue or whatever in their job description, you probably should probably prepare to learn how to build like a mini project on the fly when you get to that interview. So like
Yeah,
like Google a free API. I use the Pokemon API as an example. Go on Code Sandbox and just learn how to make fetch an API from your front end app using React or Vue or whatever, and then learn how to render it. Like
yeah.
seriously, and then style it with CSS for a bit, and that alone will give you a head start with a lot of these people that are interviewing for the same position.
Yeah, that's like super important. Like I tell people um, I mean, actually, let me back up. So I was talking to somebody else, and they were like, nowadays, just doing front end is not enough. I mean, I got my job just with React, JavaScript on the front end. Now I'm learning back end. But he was saying to me that the lines are blurred between front end and back end. And I guess the caveat I would say, kind of exactly what you mentioned, is like if you understand APIs and how to be able to consume the data from different APIs in your front end and app, you're gonna be good to go in a lot of these cases, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And it's just like it's so mind-boggling to me that um, if you want to focus on the front end, that you can't do that in a timely manner. Um, it's just something that you gotta have to like know right off the top of your head. It's like it's not even algorithms. I'm not even asking you to memorize algorithms. You just this is what you're gonna be doing on an everyday basis. So like you should be pretty familiar with that. And I don't mean to be mean. It's just you have to know these things if you're gonna be a front end developer. Consume API, render data. style
Yeah,
of the
exactly,
page.
exactly. Yeah, greetings from Venezuela. Greetings. Hey guys, by the way, if you didn't like the stream, you know, I'll take off my sweatshirt for an extra like. That's how. I'm just
Woo!
kidding. I'm just
We
kidding.
nine likes,
Don't
baby.
get too excited. I don't need likes that bad. Also, I don't want to scare you guys. Um, yeah, no, seriously. Here's a good one. I was never asked an algorithm question during an interview, but this was back in around 2013, 2015. I wasn't asked in one of my interviews algorithmic questions either, and that's the job I did get. Consequently, at the interviews where I was asked this information, I did not get that job, which is okay too. And I think like, different companies do different interviews, but I think like, like I was saying earlier to the point, when you're just starting out, number one, be able to actually build something. Number two, like, well, number one, actually know a language. Number two, be actually able to build something. And number three, when you start prepping for interviews, yeah, then you could spend whatever time on rhythms and data structures that you want if you have a portfolio. But if you don't have a portfolio, you got to build something. You got to put something together for sure. Yeah, let's see here. There's a funny comment somewhere, but it's okay. Let's see. I'm just looking through the comments here. Man, someone says, we are amazing. Thank you, guys. I think, Tech Rally coming in here, definitely the light that was missing today. A lot of excitement.
Hey,
Very
much
fantastic.
appreciated, man. You got a
Dude,
huge
man,
following, dude.
yeah, no, listen, I love your channel, and I I remember like was watching where the video you did like calling out choke codes, I guess, was a great video. But then I watched his video where he's like, the dude has the most amazing voice, and I was like, you know what? He does have the most amazing voice, and I was like, man, if I close my eyes, I would be like you know what? I'm about to I'm just teasing, kidding. But yeah,
Oh
no, it's
man,
good. It's good to have a good voice.
you know what? I think it's because sometimes I read from a script, and when I read from a script, for whatever reason, my voice gets deeper. But now these days, I've been trying to just play my more personal side, and yeah,
Yeah,
maybe my voice is similar, but it's not
yeah, you
definitely not
probably
as
got 80%
deep
of girls on your channel.
no, do you ever
Today
look at your metrics? My
we're going
metrics
to
are
learn.
insanely like 99% men.
Yeah, 100%. I got zero women, which is fine. Like there, I know girls code. I know that. Like I have a friend who graduated out of boot camp and got a job coding, and she's been loving it. So
Yeah, I mean, definitely we need more women in tech. I'm a huge
there's a question specifically for you. Do you use BEM or some other CSS in JS typically? I'll
yeah,
let
I
you
actually
answer it.
answered it, but I did BEM at my old company, and that's something that I actually implemented or kind of practice that I push for at my company. But you gotta roll with the new times. So
Yep.
CSS and JS has definitely it was something that I was very against when it initially came out because it just felt like a lazy way for JavaScript developers to write CSS. But kudos to the community, and I say community as all forms of CSS and JS because there's so many like emotion, style
Yeah.
components, CSS modules.
Yeah.
The list goes on, but they've done a good job. And like I really, at the end of the day, it's like they solve a lot of the problems that Ben was trying to solve prior to CSS and JS. So I'm all for it. I still don't really know what the best practice or kind of like scalable way to maintain your CSS and JS
Right.
because I haven't really used it to that extent. I have a lot of side projects that use CSS and JS, and I've messed with emotion, I've messed with style components. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of style components. It's
Oh
just
man, that's it. We can't be friends. That's it.
I don't like it because I just feel like I have to come up with a name for every div just to
Yeah.
style it. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh man, if anything, developers are really bad at naming things. So
Yeah. No. So no, I totally understand. Yeah,
And
and
that's
I love
part of the
style
fun.
components just because I love JavaScript and it just lets me write everything in one place. But what I recently started doing is using CSS modules, and I like them a
Modules,
lot
yeah,
as
that's
well.
great.
They're amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, if someone's looking to do CSS, like definitely do CSS, SAS, then CSS modules, and then if you like to do styled components, we do that at our job. And also, if you use Material UI, uh, styled components works really nice with it. So
Mm.
that's one benefit I would say.
Yeah, I've been really liking emotion, and some people might not like it because it feels like inline styling, but in
Yeah.
some weird way, I do like it because and that's kind of what I like about style components too, is like you keep everything in one file, and some people
Yep.
might be like, "Oh, this is gross and disgusting," but just think about long-term wise, where
Yeah.
if you're trying to clean up your code or clean up your CSS, you have to find that CSS file. You don't know if it's could be conflicts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of baggage that comes with it that you don't think about when you're
Yeah. With
initially
like
doing.
yeah, style components, you just take that code out and that's it. You don't have to worry
Exactly.
about anything.
That's
That's the
something good about
part I
style
like
components.
about it. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
like the benefit, you know. Is somebody put this. Maybe Paul added jiu-jitsu in the resume skill section. I might have. I might have. Not gonna lie. The funny thing is, like, somebody does not realize that what 20 years of like mixed martial art means. At my job, some guy comes up to my cubicle. He's like, "So, I do judo. I mean, which is great. I did judo for a long time too." And he's like, "You should come to my school and we should have a friendly match." But he's posturing. He's like standing all tough and stuff. I'm like, bro, come on. If you talk to like someone who's like really good at jujitsu, they're gonna like, and MMA, they're gonna be like super chilled, super cool because they got nothing to prove, you know. And I thought it was kind of funny. And the funniest part, like this girl who really didn't like this guy, she kept egging him on. And I'm like, no, someone's gonna get hurt, and it's probably gonna be me, you know. But no, but it was funny. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
so funny.
here, so here's a good one. Did you face any horror stories in your career? Like something went horribly wrong? I'll let you start this one first. I want to hear it first. You know.
Um, I mean, when I joined my previous company, I was employee 12 or 13, and we were working on an application that we needed to kind of deploy in maybe like 2, 3 months. It was like completely new version of the app, and it was like our V3. We didn't have any real like QA automated tests, so when we initially released and had our uh, customers go from V2 to V3, so many bugs, so many front end bugs, not enough like error handling, and so literally we would we I think we deployed on a 5 p.m. or 9, or maybe it was like 9 a.m., but we stayed up till like 10, 11 p.m. just fixing bugs and making sure nothing was broken. That was a tough one because we just didn't have the right, like, this was crazy because we had no unit tests, we had no integrated tests on the front end, and the back end had barely any like tests as well. So it was just like such a fragile app, but we deployed it and we had real paying customers use it. That was probably the horror stories that I had to deal with for like a good month of just bug fixing and bug smashing, basically.
Yeah. Speaking of like testing, what do you guys do at your company? And that's another area where, when you're learning on your own, there's not that many tutorials that really cover it in any depth, if at all.
Yeah, so at my previous company, luckily at that point we had a lot of QA developers, so they were
Okay.
creating a lot of what is it called? It's not Selenium, but coffee something similar to Selenium, where you have like full end-to-end testing. And then as a front end developer, you need to do a lot of unit tests. So that required we were using Enzyme, and
Yep.
it was a mixture of Enzyme and Jest. So we used Snapshot for like less, I guess, just changing the props or changing the arguments, and then making sure you render out something, and then Enzyme for just more like specific. If you click on this button, then this should happen, and the prop should change.
Yeah.
So it was a good mixture of unit tests with end-to-end testing, where the QA developers were more focused on that part of it, and then that was a great combination.
Yeah. When you got your first job, did you have to do a lot of testing yourself, or did you guys have somebody else do it? Like for junior developers coming in, like what's the expectation you feel?
Yeah,
Um,
so actually, I mean, the when I say my previous job, that's actually my second job because,
yep.
and then my first job is my first job. But the first job was an agency, so we actually didn't have QA developers, so we were working with a lot of other companies that had their tests already somewhat set up, like the end-to-end testing part. But like we still have created our own like unit tests and like Rails
Yeah.
like I was working on a Ruby on Rails application, so there was R spec that you had to deal with,
Yep.
and in terms of testing, that's something that I probably wasn't very good at until I joined the company. So like
Yep.
I wouldn't really, and I hate to say like you don't need to learn this, but I would probably prioritize testing as a pretty like lower priority in my learning of
Yeah.
to get that first job. Kind of similar to like leak code too. Like they would
Right.
probably be in
Right.
the same category of like not as important, but could be important. You know what I mean? They're all important, but just not as important. You know?
Yeah. And that's the most important part. That's a great point to kind of come back to, that there's so much stuff to learn that you can't learn everything at once. So you really have to pick and choose the most important stuff that you need to learn in order to be able to get your foot in the door if you're looking, to get a job. And like I
Right, and
said,
then I think I see Web Dev Junkies comment about no one makes tutorials, but it's the most important part. Should we bring that one up really quick?
um, let's see here. Let's see if I could find. I'll look for it. I'll bring it up if I find it here. Do you know how far up it was?
It's the most
Oh, here you go.
recent
I
one,
found it. There you go.
actually.
Bam.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do agree, and like, yes, um, long term wise and just scalability wise, you definitely need tests because it is the most important process. Because anytime your application does break, that's money being lost for the company.
Yeah.
But I guess for what I meant by like testing can be a low priority for a junior developer is because generally junior developers aren't going to be assigned to like quote unquote like save the company or make those business decisions. They're
Yeah.
there to just somewhat learn the ropes and kind of get to understand how to actually build on a production level code base. But
Yeah.
yes, in terms of large scale application that's making money and generating revenue, you definitely need tests, and that's
But
something that yeah, that was
yeah, what
difficult.
I would add to that, like for me, from my experience, like the only tests I did, like manual testing, where you just click a button or it doesn't work or whatever, you test stuff like that. But in terms of like other stuff, I know people have QAs, people who are designated testers that do, test the app and do anything else. But I guess it does depend on the company in terms of a junior role, how much testing you're gonna do. Um, yeah, so yeah, my front end horror story. So I was so here's one thing, like so I've been doing a lot of apps with like Firebase, maybe MongoDB. I didn't do any apps with SQL, because if you're doing React JS, when are you ever going to use SQL? Unless you're doing ASP.NET project, that's when. So I was kind of new to working with SQL, like server manager and like whatever. So I'm writing a query, and somehow I'm like learning queries, and somehow I executed a query. And then the other day, someone's like, hey, what happened to our database? It's gone. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know who did it. I didn't. I'm like, unless they specifically say I did it, I'm not gonna say nothing. But the point is, this is what I'm gonna tell you guys. If you're working in a database, you better be working off a backup. And if you're working on a live environment, that's your fault. Luckily, we had a backup. We were working in a development environment, so it would have been a big mistake if we didn't have like good practice at hand, where we were working everything from backups and nothing like touching our live, stuff. So, but yeah, like that could be terribly wrong in a lot of places.
You know what? And in some ways, it's not your fault. It's the systems that were in place to make it so easy to do.
Yeah,
So
100%, and that's what I said. But
admin searches through logs finds it.
let's see. Yeah, looking at the comments here.
Man, this is super fun. I didn't mean to hijack
Dude,
the live stream, but I'm
dude,
so glad we do this.
anytime. Like I want to like have more conversations like this with developers because it's really helpful when you have two people to give their perspective and
Yeah,
definitely anybody in the comments ask questions. You guys are the reason why Tech Rally and I are here. Without you guys, none of us would have a channel. And so definitely ask questions, no silly questions, because we want to learn from you guys. And this is why we do these live streams. Like if I want to talk to Tech Rally, I'll just call him on the phone if he ever
yeah,
gives me his
exactly,
number. But
exactly.
but the reason why we do these live streams is because like we want to engage with you guys and community. So if you haven't liked the stream, like it. Check out Tech Rally's channel. He has a lot of amazing videos. You know, here's a good one
Yeah,
that
yeah. It
I
was
I
actually
learned the
funny.
hard
I was
way.
thinking of live stream myself on my own channel. I was like, you know what? Why not just share the love?
Yeah,
Stick to
yeah,
one.
100%.
Hearts and
No,
mind.
yeah.
Stick to
So
one.
here's a
Okay,
good
go
advice:
ahead.
stick to one programming language. Stick to it 20, 30 minutes. If you put in time every day, you'll learn faster. So sticking to one programming language, that was a tough pill for me to swallow because I was under the mindset the more you learn, the better you'll get at something. So I learned like C++. I even did C for some unknown reason. I did Ruby. I did PHP. And then after like 3 years of learning, I still had no idea what was going on. It wasn't until I started just said, JavaScript is your language. This is what you got to learn. And what's interesting after, I would think I'm like okay at JavaScript now. You could pick up any programming book and understand it once you have the basic fundamentals of your first language. And that's why I tell people if you're starting out and you're learning too many things at once, stop, go back to that one language, whatever it is, and go from there. What your
Completely
thoughts?
agree. Completely
Yeah.
agree. And I couldn't said it best. Yeah. And it one thing that's crazy was because like people used to just associate JavaScript with like browser based applications and things like that. So you can never write like backend code. But since Node exists now, like you just have no real reason to like learn a different language, at least initially, because you could build literally front and back end applications using JavaScript. And I'm not this is not like a JavaScript, like I love JavaScript and you should only learn JavaScript. It's just it's so hard to learn multiple languages, and it's
Yeah.
like sometimes you just feel like it's just information overload, and it's tough. It's really is tough. When I learned Ruby at my coding bootcamp school, we it was a 12-week coding bootcamp school, and we spent 1 week on JavaScript, and that 1 week of JavaScript was hell to me. And that's so funny because all I do now is JavaScript. So
Yeah.
like
Nice.
it's just like, doing
Nice.
that context switching is so hard, and especially when you first start off. But once you know a good language, it's like, oh yeah, they just do it this way, I guess. Oh, okay, statically typed. Okay, cool. Like,
Here's one I'm curious for your answer, like real talk time. Should I practice to build towards vanilla JS or more React based? I would say I could probably build anything I want with React, can't do it with vanilla JS. Not because it just that's where I'm at, man.
yeah, and should I?
Listen, DOM
Depends on the.
manipulation with JavaScript. Waste of
Yeah,
time at this point. You should know it. You should know it, but you're not building full like applications with it. Maybe a widget here or there.
yeah, and the thing in my old companies, we've built some stuff in vanilla JavaScript because actually one of the people that I interviewed and I hired specifically was because he was so good at JavaScript,
There you go.
and there is a use case to do vanilla JavaScript when it's the right situation. And what I mean by that is, to your point, like a widget or maybe just a
Right.
single page application that might not need um, React. And what I mean by that is, and maybe like most of our viewers might not be really aware of this, but like when you load a browser, you're downloading JavaScript.
Yeah.
And when you are using a library like React DOM, all this other stuff that you're like adding onto your file, your file size is actually getting bigger because you imported React. But
Yeah.
imagine if you could do the same exact thing without loading those libraries, and it just can improve your performance that much faster, right? And you know
Yeah.
that it's not going to expand beyond this. Like the reason why people don't like using vanilla JavaScript is because you there's no structure in the sense of like a framework gives you.
Oh no, no. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
But if it's simple enough, then you should still know how to do it, because in my opinion, yeah, you may not be using it every day, but there's something about knowing it that makes even learning React development easier. But
Yeah, 100%.
if you're kind of in a like beginner stage or medium stage, I would still probably like when you build a project, you want to build it in React,
Yeah.
but it's good to know once you've found that job and you're like, all right, like let's look at my books of you don't know JS or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like that would be the time I look at those kind of books and resources. Yeah.
and that's what I say to people: learn the basics of JavaScript, learn DOM manipulation, just so you know what it is, and you know that like pretty much like you could look up stuff that you don't know if you had to, and then start using React. But once you get your first job, is definitely go back and try to master more JavaScript concepts. So one of the recent things that I started doing is actually going back and taking something that I built in React and seeing if I could build it with JS. A lot more code, a lot more headaches.
A lot more code, a lot more headaches, and
But good practice for sure.
it's good practice, and it kind of teaches you why people build frameworks. Like
Yes.
what DOM manipulation is then was standard in some ways, but you don't realize how expensive those calls are or to like do DOM manipulation. But React did this concept of like virtual DOM, and you start like unraveling this history that basically I wouldn't recommend any like starting developer or junior developer to really know. But once you get paid, and then you have the luxury of actually going like, oh, like you could dive deep into these rabbit holes that you never knew existed. But that's kind of like the beauty of like our brain. Maybe this is why we're software developers. We're always so curious about those kind
Yeah,
of
no,
things. But
exactly. Here's a, hold on a second. I'll come back to that one. Here's a funny one. I guess this is related to my, when I erased that database, admin searches through logs, find who did it. Bro, I'm Russian. That makes me automatically a hacker. So I think I covered my tracks, all right? Like the only thing he found is nothing because I erased everything. Also, by the way, you know who that admin is? When I told that story about this guy trying to challenge me with judo, that was our admin.
that was
Come to think of it, I might have erased it on purpose, to be honest with you. At this point, I might have been like, listen, he's going to front with his judo. I'm going to front with my SQL skills and show him what's up. He didn't say nothing to me because he knew that he's like, listen, if he go on the mat, it's going to be game over.
How many years of experience did you have?
When I erased the database? Or
How
in
many
general?
How many years did he have of judo?
Oh, like he's fronting like he has like a black belt in judo, I don't know how, like, I've been doing martial arts since the age of 10. I'm 40 now. And I did everything from Muay Thai to boxing to wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, you name it. I did it. I even did training in Thailand 3 years in a row doing Muay Thai. So, so I don't know. I'm sure it wasn't as much experience as I had.
You would have been for a bad day.
But here's the funny thing is like, even though like I've done, like I got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's pretty impressive accomplishment. There's other black belts who make black belts like me look like white belts, which blows my mind. Like this level of like, and I'm not bad, but there's just some
Right.
guys like, you're just like, Jesus Christ. Like, and people have no idea. A lot of people like, oh, I could fight. No. Like, there's people that could give me a beating, and I could probably give a beating to 90% of people, and that's kind of insane. And so, but I stopped because, brain damage is bad for you. Who would have thought? Who would have thought getting hit in the face is not good for you,
Right. That's so true.
Yep, helps a lot if you have good understanding of ES6, 100%. But learning React makes things a lot simpler. But nowadays, like a lot of the tutorials that you do online, they all start with ES6 and all the newest features of React. Is actually a lot of tutorials now very rarely do anything with like class-based components when it comes down to like React.
Yeah,
But,
I mean that's it's just the next evolution of coding, I guess.
yeah, here's another one. Any tips on learning to code from books? I think I don't know. What's your take on this?
I personally, and this is my personal, for me, is like I don't really learn well from books
Yeah, same.
because I have to actually be doing the typing myself. So
Yeah,
I actually have the book, the Cracking the Code book,
I have that one too. Yeah,
and I never opened it. I opened it, and I never got past like the first 3 pages
hundred
or
percent.
like four. And then now I was just using Leak Code to do like interview prep is because I was able to actually write the code. And
Yeah,
it didn't help that the Cracking the Code was written in like I think Java. So not that I can't read Java, but it was just kind of like this is so annoying because I just want to like practice, but I can't really practice because I'm not writing code. So I'm not a huge fan of it. If anything, I read the You Don't Know JS books as like a casual
yeah.
read, but I
That's
never.
actually, if you are going to read a book, read that one, and it's free
Yeah,
on GitHub, and they're pretty up to date. And that guy Kyle Simpson, I guess I forgot. Is that his
yeah,
name? Yeah,
yeah.
he's phenomenal. He like very good books here, so I would recommend that. But anything that's printed, I wouldn't bother reading. If anything, read blogs. You'll learn more.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I actually
Um,
read. I mean, I bought the books from Kyle Simpson because I don't like reading on a computer screen, but
yeah, I bought the
it's a
same thing.
casual read. Yeah, for
I
me.
just
Yeah.
wanted to say it's free. If someone's like, "Oh, I can't spend money to buy a book,"
Yeah.
I invest a lot of money in my education. I'm not gonna lie. That's the only thing I spend money on. You
Yeah, that's
know.
another topic. I was actually talking to someone about that as well, but we can move on to questions.
Yeah, that's a good conversation, though. I would definitely love to talk about it. We probably share the same sentiment on that one. But
Do you
here's
have
one
a?
that. Go
Oh, I was
ahead.
curious. Do you have Clubhouse?
Do I have Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember we had that we talked on one room where that chick joined. It was fun.
Was that? Which one was
We
that?
we talked. It was that guy from the first one with what's his name? It was like me, you, some other guy. You came in for
Sid?
for a little bit, like jumped in. Maybe you
Sid,
weren't there.
right? Maybe I
Maybe I'm.
wasn't there, but anyways, we should really start a room. I met someone else
Yeah, you
today,
should do that.
and he's a cool cat, and definitely we need more software developers in Clubhouse and more topics that we can kind of more freely
Yeah,
touch on. I
no,
think.
it'll be awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, this questions.
No, no, it's good. It's good. But this is a good one right here. Do you guys use Redux or Context API?
It depends on your app
Yeah.
generally. If I think context has a time and a place for it, and so does Redux.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know why there's this notion of like context with hooks is gonna replace Redux, but
I mean, once you start using use reducer, you might as well write Redux at that point.
that's true. But I think use reducer doesn't persist like throughout all
Right.
parts of your application
Yeah.
unless you connect it to context. So
Do that.
like
Well, I was gonna say if you're using Context API and use reducer, then you could basically
exactly.
do the
Then
same
you're
thing.
creating Redux in some form or fashion.
Form, yeah.
But yeah, like it's also tricky because I you know what? I wish I knew hooks a little bit better. But one thing I'm like not too sure about is the re-rendering of things. If you just put everything at a top level context, like doesn't that just re-render your whole app every time you update something?
Yeah. So yes, then yeah, and that's I guess any tree that piece of code touches in some way will get re-rendered. Where Redux it kind of avoids that. But I feel like you said, depending on what you need to do, the best tip I got, if you don't know what Redux is, you probably don't need to use it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the number one tip I got. At my work, we used Redux, but for what we needed it to do, we actually refactored it out and ended up using Context API with everything. And in our
Nice.
case, that was fine. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a time and a place to have the context API at the very, very highest level, where it's like maybe like a user ID or something that doesn't really change that often. But you don't want to put everything there because it's a recipe for disaster as you get a bigger and bigger app.
yeah. By the way, you guys in the chat, ask questions. I mean, the only reason we're doing this live is we want to hear what you guys have to say. And definitely if you think
And
Tech Rally has a
subscribe.
nice voice.
You're coding after 30.
Yeah, coding after 30. Damn, that's such a lie. I'm 40 years old right now. It's insane.
Well, technically,
Insane.
that's not a lie. You're still after 30, so
That's true. It's true, you know. But there's no way in hell I'm going to call this coding after 40 because that just sounds so sad. It's like,
you
oh,
might
it's
lose
like I
the
couldn't get a
18 to
girlfriend. I'm
demographic.
40. Yeah, so. Here's a good one. Or actually, hold on. Let me come back then a second. Should I learn Next.js after React? Casper DSC, thanks for joining us today, by the way. I think so. I think like server-side rendering is pretty cool and has some benefits that React doesn't. It depends like what you try to do. But I actually started doing all my future projects with Next.js instead of React. So what are your thoughts, Tech? Really?
I always say it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? If you're maybe trying to do like a portfolio site that needs like really good SEO, then
Yep,
yeah,
100%. Yep.
Next.js is great. But if it's more of like I say single page application, which basically means not Next, but if you need an application that you don't really need SEO benefits and stuff like that, then Create React App is perfectly fine. It just really depends on what you're trying to get done. So I think Next.js is definitely the future, and it if you know it, I wouldn't
This is good.
really see any reason why you need to go back to SPA in a sense of like just convenience. But yeah, it all just depends on what you're trying to do.
Here's another good one. I never see anybody using ES6 classes. Why is that? Maybe because they're writing React. Um,
I
and
use
it's,
ES classes.
I mean, you can. I try not to. But
Yeah,
the idea is, though, it's like more functional programming paradigm. And if you're doing something which, follows more of that object-oriented programming, and there's a lot of use cases for that, by the way, just happens not to be in React. So, it depends what you're doing, but it's still being used.
yeah. I mean,
I
I
would
use
say.
it for interviews.
There you go.
I don't use it for yeah. I never really
Yeah.
used it in like real like code.
Yeah.
Just beyond class React. Oh, OP was so last season. No, it wasn't even last season. It was like 2 seasons, 3 seasons ago.
No, it's still here. It's still here. When you do ASP.NET, what do you think you do? Let's see. Why don't you use context, Redux, or use state? We use Cerebral, Histoman, blah, blah, all the state, and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I've never used Cerebral. I can't even pronounce it. But hey, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Just curious.
Yeah, check it out.
I don't think it's that much of an issue to have your code with your state in React, but maybe some people
Yeah.
just don't like it. I mean,
Hey guys, I see we have 18 of you watching, which is like a new
Yo.
record for this channel. Tech Rally did it. Set a world
This is
record
gonna
with
get
his
you
presence.
so much watch time hours. It's gonna
And
be
his
great.
voice, bro. We're gonna keep this going until you fall asleep or something happens.
I think I'm gonna put a hard cap at 2, just because I am getting a little tired. But
No, listen,
this is
sounds good.
awesome.
Like I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
do the same. But
Yeah.
always awesome. Hey guys, if you're joining, we've been here for 2 hours. Check out Tech Lead's channel. Don't worry,
Tech
this
Lead?
video is going to be. This is going to be like. What did I
Did you say
say?
tech lead?
Jesus Christ.
must be
You know what?
tired.
We're all tech leads in our own way. By the way, his channel, it's like pure gold in nonsense. Like you learn
It
nothing
is.
from it, but you can't stop watching it. Like I don't know, why did your wife leave you? I want to know. It's like every thing he could do to get views, he does it, But yeah, Tech Rally's channel. Check out Tech Rally's channel. By the way, we're going to do like the power round. He's going to leave at the hard 2-hour stop. I'll go on a little bit more, but ask your final questions. Definitely check out Tech Rally's channel. If you guys hit the like button more times. Check out his channel. Hit a bunch of like buttons there too. And then tell him that you want to see more of these live streams together because I think we'll be down to do more of these. These are a lot of fun.
It's super fun. I love live streams. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is good. Listen, this is by far like the most entertaining stream on YouTube. Yeah.
Man, so I mean, before I maybe you'll do it in your recap after I leave, but definitely, I think it's good to reiterate the three areas that you want to focus on it before you end, because I think
Yeah, yeah,
you know what.
totally. I'll just have to redo this stream or a separate video, but because like it was so much more fun just talking, having this conversation, and
That's
answering
true. That's
questions
true.
from you guys in the comments is also good. But the three areas that you guys, should definitely know. We've been on for such a long time. My brain is not working, but I'm gonna remember because this is the same things I'm doing. Number one, you know, learn a language. Whatever tech that you're trying to learn to be productive in, make sure you know it. Learn JavaScript, or if it's C sharp, understand your domain. You know what I mean? The second thing is, after 2-3 months of doing that, and I would say that's the limit, you got to start building your portfolio. And that's the second piece of the puzzle. And I would say, and you definitely want to have like 2 to 3 projects in your portfolio. And I'm going to quickly kind of ask Tech Rally here, what kind of projects should you have in your portfolio? What do you know? It's like I know I kind of asked earlier, but like if like obviously you don't want a tic-tac-toe app. Like nobody wants to see a tic-tac-toe app, but you probably how do you know like it's a good enough project? Like really quickly.
Yeah, anything that you could build that's kind of relevant to maybe something you use every day. I know one of our friends, Bobby, always says like the bug tracker thing, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a bug tracker, but you could be something like a finance app, or maybe even something like a weather app that you can kind of persist that data. So you're saying like, I live in New York, I live in LA half the time, so I want to know what the weather is like based on the settings that I put in. So I think having more apps that are relevant, and maybe not like a jiu-jitsu app, because not everyone knows what jiu-jitsu is. And I love jiu-jitsu. I love watching jiu-jitsu. I love watching MMA, but not everyone knows what that is. So try to find apps that are kind of relevant to a broader community, and I think that would be good for you.
Yeah. By the way, hold on a second. Let me do something. So if you guys say here before you guys, I just want to say we have Tech Rally here. He has an amazing channel. Definitely go check it out. It's good time. I'm clicking buttons here. Nothing's happening. Here you go. Tech Rally channel. He has a lot of great videos.
I appreciate.
Go check him out. Really good content. He's here talking to us now. Also, I want to spread the love. We do have Web Dev Junkie here, helping us out. Here's his channel. You guys check it out. I'm checking it out right now with you guys on the screen. Listen, this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to look. Looks good. I'm going to subscribe later when I sign in. But really cool to have all of you guys engage in the comments. It's always good, always fun, and there's plenty of love to go around. And anytime, Tech Rally, God damn it, I'm pressing buttons. How does this damn thing work? I'm like using this new software. It's amazing, by the way, see, that's not the button you got to press. I don't know anymore. I think I pressed this button. Yep. So I just started using Ecamm Live. It's amazing. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about it because I use StreamYard, but
I
maybe
think
there's
it's
something
very
that.
similar. I used to use OBS, and I was like, that's too many headaches. It's like building a rocket ship before
Yeah,
every stream, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, am I
it's like
gonna
learning
make
React,
it?
JavaScript.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I know it was kind of on a whim, but it was super fun. We should definitely do it again.
Dude, that's no. Anytime, always glad to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. Anyway, guys, go check out Tech Rally's channel. Amazing stuff. And he's gonna go up there. My goal is to
No, let's
keep
go
up with
together,
his
friend.
growth. To keep
Dude,
up
let's
with your
go
growth
together.
on your channel.
We gotta stick together and grow together. That's the
Hell
plan,
yeah,
man.
man. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, we gotta take over. We gotta be the future of YouTube.
Exactly.
I gotta pair up with the youngins. So I could still be relevant. No, but
All
it's
right,
always
buddy.
a great
I'll
time.
I'll hang up now. But it was
Yeah.
good talking to you. See ya.
Hey, great talking to you. Take care. Man, we're having so much fun, guys. It was amazing to have Tech Rally here. All of you guys here. Man, I'm going to chill out with you guys for another 20 minutes. By the way, if you guys just joining, Like, subscribe to this channel. I talk about switching careers to web development later in life. We also have these live streams every Friday, 11:55 p.m. Eastern time. So if you missed this one, you could always join next one. And this is going to be for a replay. So I'll hang out for another like 15, 20 minutes to answer other questions that you guys have. But listen, I just want to thank all of you guys who are here, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. Tech Rally wouldn't be here. So I really want to make these streams all about you guys. So don't be shy. Engage in the conversation. And, you know, let's do it. Listen, I'm going to look at the comments here. Thanks, Web Dev Junkie. Hey, next time, if you want to jump in on the stream with me, I'm going to actually, when I end the stream and log into my Google, I'm going to subscribe to your channel. And if you ever want to jump on the live stream, it will be amazing to have you. I just want to have these open discussions and have fun. So that'll be great. Man, I speak Russian, but I'm not sure what that means. Bochka bass. I mean, I guess if it was written in Russian. But меня зовут Павел. That means my name is Paul. И я живу в Connecticut. That means I live in Connecticut. Well, I don't live in Connecticut anymore. I live in Austin, Texas now. But I am visiting my family in Connecticut. Thank you guys for all your knowledge. You share the amazing content that you put out. Really helpful and inspiring for developers. Man, thank you so much for the love. Glad to have all of you guys here. I mean, this is why we do these live streams, to share the love, spread the love. Those of you who are just starting out, if you don't know, like, I just got my job last year. I'm still in the trenches. Still feel the pain of what it's like, you know, becoming a web developer, becoming a programmer is very difficult, especially in a situation when you're older. I'm 40 now. I got my job when I was 39. It took me 5 years to get here. And I'm not saying that this is something that's going to take you as long as it took me. But if you're looking to switch careers, it's definitely something that is difficult and not as easy. But I would still say it's worth it because like when I got my job, it was last January. And then 3 months into it, you know, the pandemic hit hard, and a lot of us, you know, had to be like, hey, like, we can't go to work. And I was just lucky to be able to work remotely. And that's something that I would not be able to do at my other job. Man, and Tech Rally, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a good treat for everyone here, including me. And I would love to do more streams like that with you as well. And Kit Kat, great question. Well, hi, Paul. Let me click the button here so you guys could see the comment here. I was wondering why you use vanilla CSS when Bootstrap is easier to use. I would say, like, if you're building something and you wanted to make it look nice and you want to focus more on the JavaScript side of things, using Bootstrap definitely helps. But I would say that you should understand vanilla CSS and be able to write it by yourself. And you know, understand Sass, or even using, when you start doing React, using something like CSS modules. But yeah, I have nothing wrong with using Bootstrap. I actually been really enjoying Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS is pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. It's a little bit different because you could add your classes directly to your code. I also like Material UI when it comes down to React. So there are a lot of frameworks that I like using. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I still think like you should still learn CSS, vanilla CSS. It's very important. Yes, and KitKat is absolutely right. Using Bootstrap in combination with CSS, it saves headaches with all the responsiveness part. Yeah, 100%. If you want to make something responsive and you know it's going to work, use Bootstrap. There's nothing wrong with that. I highly recommend it. So let's say that you learn CSS, you understand how to write responsive CSS, you just don't want to go through the hassle. Using Bootstrap definitely is awesome. And I say any framework that helps you get your job done faster is important. I would just say that just know enough about CSS that you understand what you're doing when you're using Bootstrap. So if someone asks you on an interview question that's based on CSS, you're not going to respond with like, oh, I just use Bootstrap. Like, you should have an answer. Hey, thank you for joining us. Happy weekend and stay safe. You too, my man. Very glad to have you here. Super awesome. I had a blast this live stream. Man, it's so awesome. So much fun talking to you guys. So, last few questions, guys. Let's do this. If you haven't liked the stream, like the stream because it does help us YouTubers to have our content be shown to other people. Let me know in the comments what you guys, any questions that you have, any thoughts. We'll do last 10-minute round of last rapid fire questions. No such a thing as a bad question. Yeah, by the way, while you guys are just chilling there, let me pull up this thing I want to show you. If you guys are self-taught, learning to learn, like one of the biggest questions is like, how do you know what you should be learning? So here's something that like I use as reference. I don't do a lot of their tutorials, but it's really good in terms of just to kind of see a good curriculum. So I like to use, here we go. Let's see here. I messed up my screen here. I like to use Free Code Camp as a rough guide. So if you're doing HTML and CSS, they have their responsive web design curriculum. So if you open that up, you go, it will show you all the, basically all the different things you have to learn. Basic CSS, applied visual design. I know there's HTML here. And so like, not saying that you guys should go through all these lessons, but this is like a good outline to kind of look through and be like, do I know how to create a radio button HTML? You know, so it's a good overview when learning. So if you're kind of stuck and you're not sure like what you learn, this is a great one. JavaScript algorithm, data structures. Again, like as a self-taught developer, a lot of times it's really hard to know what to learn. So going through, you know, something like Free Code Camp and just going over their curriculum. And what's cool about it is, you know, they have the example. You could write your code, and if you not sure, you could click get help, you could click watch video, and they go over the example for you. So that's an amazing place to learn. Also, if you're just starting out, maybe learning to code, you want to practice some questions. Lead code might be too difficult, especially if you're a beginner. So I've been using Code Wars. So if you guys haven't seen Code Wars yet, I would definitely recommend that you guys go and check it out. It's a pretty awesome place to start getting your feet wet and practicing some algorithmic and data structure problems. And when you start out, a lot of the questions are pretty simple, but they have different levels, and you could make a challenge as hard as you like. So if this is, you know, something you haven't done yet, definitely, you know, check it out. Yeah, Kit Kat, don't worry about it. You know, I'm just glad to have you here, even if it's at the end. I know everybody's in different time zones, so it's kind of hard to coordinate, but there's definitely going to be a restream, and I know you're also in our Slack channel, so I'll talk to you there as well. And if you're looking for some place to work on community projects together, definitely send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. We do have a Slack channel where we work on community projects. This time around, we're looking to recreate this portfolio site with HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Well, not JavaScript yet, but right now we're focusing on HTML and CSS. Once you guys build this in HTML and CSS, what we're going to work on is taking this exact same portfolio site and making it a React application. And once we do that, all this stuff that right now is hard-coded, we're going to figure out how can we make it dynamic through pulling this data from an API. So again, if this is something that interests you, you could always join our Slack channel at coding. You could email me at codingafter30@gmail.com. By the way, if you guys wondering, kind of like when you're just starting out, if you're a complete beginner, what kind of projects you should build? I mean, you should start with like simple stuff like this. Here's a simple HTML and CSS site I made. And so what I would say, if you're learning HTML and CSS and JavaScript, you could learn by building something small like this. You could give it some basic functionality with JavaScript, but then you could take the same project and recreate it with React. And as you get a little bit farther ahead of, and learn more things, you could make websites that are a little bit, more complex. Here's like another HTML and CSS design I did. And it is responsive, so if you shrink it, it will collapse into responsive site here. And, you could go to other places. Here's the about page. Some of the images load slower. And then, just through practice, you're going to build more advanced apps. And when you start with JavaScript, it doesn't have to be anything complex. Here's a simple, very simple card page I made, which allows you to add items by clicking the plus sign. You could see the card here. And this is all vanilla JavaScript. You could clear the card by individual items, or you could clear card altogether, close card. So this is very simple JavaScript project. This is how you start building stuff, and going from there. And as you get better and better, you'll create other things. So here's a simple website, but this is a React website. And like I'm saying, when you're starting out, don't think you have to build something that's pretty, complex. Just start super simple, and work your way up. Once I created this simple React page, I worked on creating the get battle. This pulls a bunch of different GitHub accounts, and then you could basically compare people's GitHubs. You could go to battle, and here you could write, someone's name. Like let's say, it's funny, there's a guy named A on GitHub. I'm pretty sure there's a guy named B on GitHub. And then you could click battle, and it will calculate winner based on how many followers they have and stuff like that. And as you basically get better by creating projects, you could make more complex projects. Here's actually a cool one. There's a tutorial on YouTube, COVID-19 tracker with React. So this is based on that tutorial. This is almost done. Right now it has just the mobile view, but it has this nice map. What's awesome, you could pick different countries, and it'll show that country, the total cases, and it'll show it on the map. Basically, the red dot represents, the deaths. The yellow represents recoveries, and the gray represents all the cases. But what I like about this COVID tracker app is that it is a great app that allows you to connect to an API and use that data to populate this, front end. And, this is kind of cool. You have the little map here. This is done with React leaflets. So I didn't make this from scratch. I just implemented their library. But that's pretty amazing. And yeah, just, over time, you guys will continue to build and get better and better, and things will get more complex. So don't give up, guys. Keep building stuff. A lot of times, I'm trying to find here. I had some stuff ready here. Where is this going on here? Yeah, by the way, guys, I just want to put this plug in. This guy, Coding Addict, he has a lot of great free tutorials online. And this one, React Project Search GitHub Users, is pretty awesome. It's very similar to the COVID-19 app that I did. And as you could see here, from just this image, he has different graphs. And you pull this data dynamically from GitHub API. And these are the type of projects you want to start getting comfortable building, where you're creating a front end that is not static but dynamic, in a sense that you're plugging into some sort of API and dynamically pulling that data. And once you could create something like this is a great example, Search GitHub Users project, where you create a front end, you're able to connect to an API and get the data. You're on your way to getting to where you need to be in terms of your web development skills. So with that being said, I'm going to look at the last few comments here. And then, because we're going on here, 2 hours now, I am going to end in a few minutes. But before we end, let me get these last questions here. How do you go about learning something when tutorials are very minimum? I have to learn Java and Spring due to demand in my area, but find most tutorials only for JS or Python. Any tips, Paul? Yeah, like, sometimes some of these tutorials, I think there are like some Java tutorials. I know if you go on a site like Plural Site, they have a lot of Java tutorials. I'm not sure about Udemy, but I know there's some tutorials there. So definitely check out Plural Site. It is a paid site, but you will find some great tutorials done by industry leaders. But yeah, if JavaScript is in demand in your area, that's something that you need to know. And if you can't find tutorials, it's not like the best way to learn, but you could start right from their documentation and learning from their documentation. It'll involve a lot of reading, a lot of work, but it's definitely a way to learn. Another thing, if you can't find, let's say, a lot of good tutorials on Java, I know there's plenty of books on Java that I've seen before. I personally don't do Java, but if you have to get a book, you get a book. But I'm sure you could find a lot of resources online on Java. So that's what I would say. That's where I would start. Nice. Hey, Algeria, represent. Nice. Man, thanks, OG Gaming. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited. Most of the excitement comes from the fact that, in these pandemics time, I have a Friday night to socialize with you guys, talk about coding, and chat about stuff. So this is pretty awesome. So thank you guys for all of you who joined. So guys, this has been a long stream, and I'm going to call it a night. Before I go, though, I want to thank you all, guys, for joining me here tonight. We had a surprise visit from Tech Rally. That was amazing. We kind of got to our topic. I will save it for later. We'll talk more about it. But you guys, always fun to have you here on Coffee Code and Chat. If you guys missed the stream, there is going to be a replay. But with that being said, guys, I just want to say thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for coming in. Without you guys, this channel would not exist. All of you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next Friday. And in the meantime, feel free to check out my channel. Feel free to check out Tech Rally's channel, and we'll go from there. With that being said, guys, have a good night, and I'll see you guys later.